Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Welcome. Welcome, committee members. Thank you. Are we expecting fire? No, not this morning. Okay. Again, welcome. This is the February 18th, 2026 Technical Review Committee meeting for Walton County. We've got a rather large agenda today, so we're going to do our best to get through it in a timely manner. Our first item is a request to approve the January 7th and January 21 TRC minutes. Have you had a chance to review those minutes? Any questions, comments, concerns?
No.
All right, I need a motion to approve, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, we're gonna go ahead and take, we've got a couple continuances here. The first one is Silver Place. We have a request to continue to the April 1st, 2026 Technical Review Committee meeting in this location. Can I have a motion to that effect?
Motion to continue.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We will hear the Silver Place application at the April 1st TRC. The next one, and it's not on the agenda, but the USU FWB 32 Mac Bayou tower application. Staff is requesting this to be moved to the second March meeting. Karen, can I have that date, please? So we have a request to the March 18th meeting, and just for the committee's information or understanding here, the Board of County Commissioners has directed staff to provide them an update and a status and some additional understanding and clarity as it relates to the Sandestin DRI and the site. Staff has not had the ability or the time to get in front of the board, but we're scheduled for the first March meeting, so we'll hear that subsequently. So can I have a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 5, the USU tower will be heard on March 18th. And that brings us, I think that's the last continuance. There is one more.
There's one more continuance. Number 4, Wagon Wheel RV Park, to continue it to the April 1st, 2026 TRC meeting. And that's one of the packets in front of you.
Got it. Thank you. This was an applicant request?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns on this one? Yep. All right. Can I have a motion to that effect, please?
Motion to continue.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We will hear the Wagon Wheel RV Park application on the April 1st meeting, TRC meeting, excuse me. Okay, that is it. Morning, Bob. Are you going to present the Andrews Bay subdivision for us? Yeah. All right, thank you. Proceed.
So this is project Andrews Bay subdivision, request approved by development order, project number MIN 26-03 is being reviewed by myself. This is a minor development order application submitted by Emerald Coast Associates Engineering on behalf of AGA Family Holdings LLC, requesting to develop a 3-lot subdivision on 2.37 plus or minus acres with a future land use of mixed use and the zoning category of small neighborhood. The property is located in District 5 at the end of Renovations Drive and can be identified by the parcel number in your staff report. Mr. Chair, you have a packet of late comments. All comments except fire have been received. There are just minor comments that could be addressed in the resubmittal, and I would like to enter the staff report in the record, please.
So,
And do you have any questions before I turn it over to the applicant?
just a couple points of clarity here. So, we have not received environmental.
Yes, we have. It's in your desk, sir. Environmental and school district all have been received, and
We just haven't received fire.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Let's put it this way, as of yesterday, apparently a flurry of them this morning. I didn't double check, but I'll check as soon as I get back.
Okay,
But
Thank
that's the only remaining outstanding comment is from fire.
okay. Thank you, Bob. Any questions for staff? Thanks, Bob.
I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you, Bob. Dean Burgess with Emerald Coast Associates. We have read through the comments, and they can be easily responded to. I think the only one that was of any significance was probably the flood comment. However, we have a net cut on the site, so we are not filling within the floodplain. There's actually a cut within the floodplain. We will show that on our data table and clarify that information. With regard to the outstanding fire comment, I really don't anticipate that Sammy will have any concerns. We are interconnecting between Seclusion Bay Subdivision and Rendezvous Drive. Rather than having a cul-de-sac, we'll maintain interconnectivity between the roads.
Lot 3's awfully small. Is that going to be buildable?
It is. You're talking about the easternmost lot?
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, any questions for the applicant?
Thank you.
Darren, you sure? You look like you're,
No, it is small lot.
yeah.
That is a small lot, I was just asking. The question he asked, yeah.
It's buildable in comparison to the other lots. The other two lots are almost a half acre. So in relation to those, and especially for South Florida or South Walton, it's a big lot.
Yes.
Right,
All
thanks.
right. Thank you. This is a minor development order application. We'll go ahead and open it up to the public that has any technical comments, questions, or concerns. Thank you. Come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Kyla Jacobson, Jacobsen. I live in Seclusion Bay. I have two concerns, and they're kind of diametrically opposed. One of them is access through Seclusion Bay for construction and future use. We are a private subdivision. We maintain our roads, we maintain our gate at such time after all the construction is built out. We're 53 lots, and I think 48 are built. So we have a little bit more construction to go. And I'm concerned down the road that when we have, if now there's more construction going on and people are driving in and out, when we have to redo our roads, are they going to help pay for it? Are they going to be part of our HOA? My other concern, which is even bigger, is the connectivity between Rendezvous and Jan's Way, because we have a gated community, and this basically, by having this connector road off of Jan's Way, opens our neighborhood up. And I bought a lot and built in a gated community for the security of being behind a gate. So I'm concerned with that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. Anyone else?
This thing on?
Yes, sir.
I'm Evan Brand. I live in the neighborhood as well. I moved in October. We were in historic Point, Washington, over off Bay Drive, where I didn't realize how good I had it, how quiet it was. Living in seclusion now, it's already so busy, just with the amount of trucks in and out every day. That little piece of land should really be like a preserve or something like that. I mean, to think of cutting that down and putting in new houses. These houses are in the ballpark of $1.5 to $2 million. The houses behind that on Rendezvous, one lot just sold on Rendezvous for approximately $65,000. It's now being used for storage. I just saw it last night. There's piles of garbage on this lot on Rendezvous. And so my issue with it is, okay, we're in a $1.5 to $2 million neighborhood. And then right behind that on Rendezvous, we have trailer homes. We have trash out in people's front yard. There's just very, very unkept lots right at the far end of Rendezvous. You guys can go down there. Go to the dead end of Rendezvous, and it's trash. And so it's just strange to have trailers and trash and garbage and a storage facility basically behind us. And then you want to cut through and connect to the neighborhood. To me, it devalues our neighborhood. Now, if there was a gate, maybe there was a gated neighborhood, put at the connector of Rendezvous to Jan's Way, like where those lots are, if you put a gate at the very end of Rendezvous, I think it would be acceptable, maybe by that lot 3. But to be able to then exit through the gates make no sense. I've got 3 kids. I don't want semi trucks or dump trucks. Let's say they enter, let's just role play. Let's say they enter on Rendezvous, right? They're going to drop off some rock or lumber. They're not going to be able to turn around back there. So the only exit is going to be through Jan's Way, through our neighborhood, right past my house. And I'm already stressed out daily with my kids trying to play in the road with the amount of trucks coming to and from the bay already. And so I'm picturing they're going to run the neighborhood down with the construction. Of course, construction ends, but once again, now you have the advantage of being in a community of 1.5 to $2 million homes. What are you going to build there? And then what does that do to Rendezvous? So I think it's a bad idea. I think if anything, they completely stay out of our neighborhood. There needs to be no access on Jan's Way. They have to cut across our conservation easement anyway. If you look at the plat, there's a small section of Seclusion Bay right there that is conservation. And right across from where they want to cut that road in, there's more conservation on the other side of the road. All the neighborhood kids are in there. They're in the woods. We're all playing around. We don't want a road right there. Leave it alone. Come in Rendezvous and don't touch Seclusion at all is what I think should happen. They should have to, if the proposal is for Rendezvous, then leave Jan's Way out of it. Leave Seclusion out of it. So I hope you guys can make it work. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hello.
Morning.
Zach Filikowski. I also live in Seclusion Bay.
Will you spell your name,
Uh,
please?
Zach Filikowski, Filakoski.
Thank you.
For sure. Not to beat a dead horse on what they said, but it is in fact a concern. We just spent roughly over 150 grand redoing our entrance and our gate, which parties of the developing party of this lot and area knew that this was going on as well. One even lived in our neighborhood as well. So although I understand the concern of them not being a part of our HOA, from what we've been told is they have deeded access through our neighborhood. I've not seen that. I don't disagree with that. If they have it, they have it. Now, it would be nice to see, but if I were to pick the lesser of 2 evils, I would ask that it not be a road. There's no strategic advantage to them gaining access to both points. It doesn't speed up any type of commute or exit or anything like that. I would rather them, if we had to pick one, exit through our neighborhood, which then keeps our gate functional and the reason that we moved there. Otherwise, aside from what's back there, we have a gate for a reason. You know, we do already have issues with stray dogs and stuff like that coming from back there. The last thing we need though is just open access. Otherwise, that's 180 grand that we just threw away. And we still have to take care of our roads and such. So to me, the road just doesn't make sense. There's not really a reason to have it, unless it's something to do with the lot and they don't think they can get a driveway back there. So again, I'm just trying to understand what the necessity of having that road would be and how it impacts the rest of the neighborhood. Because essentially, these are going to be our neighbors. You can call it Andrews Bay, you can call it whatever, you're gonna be within 50 feet of our homes. And they will have access through our neighborhood either way. So just, I wouldn't think these houses of what they're building and these proposed millions of dollars would want that either. It doesn't seem to make sense for them to have that as well when they would have the option of being in a gated community. Again, if we're having to pick one or the other. Now, like I said, they said they have deeded access that was done with the development of the neighborhood. If you have that, I don't know what else we can say. But it would be nice to see, you know, what all that entails. Because again, they are crossing easements as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Dean, you want to approach some of those comments, concerns?
I designed Seclusion Bay. I did it for Gus Andrews. Mr. Andrews, before he sold the property, made provisions for this property to be accessed through Seclusion Bay. It was one of the comments that we received in our TRC, and we will be responding with that agreement. I don't know whether it requires him to be a paying part of the association or not. I would assume so. But he does have deeded access. That was a condition for Seclusion Bay to exist and be sold. So this does have deeded access. It was a primary concern of his that he maintained access. So they have a legal access through Seclusion Bay.
Was that uploaded into the file?
It has not yet, but
Okay.
when we respond to our comments, now that we have our, the last of the comments, assuming we get Sammy's, we will be uploading that. I've already got that document. We can install, and we have discussed, a gate. Now, the county promotes interconnectivity between roads. We don't want cul-de-sacs at the end of every road. And so it is encouraged by the county. Public Works likes to see it. So we did provide it, but I would agree a gate at Rendezvous and our road that accesses our lots would be in order. We do want our primary access to be through Seclusion Bay. Rendezvous is a difficult road to get to from Chat Holly, and it is in poor condition. So I would be willing to offer that up, and South Walton Fire would have a clicker to open that gate in the event of an emergency. But these are going to be, they're all waterfront houses. They're not going to be any, $60,000 home as far as property values go. And I think separating the subdivisions with a gate is appropriate.
I have a question. How many lots are in Seclusion Bay?
54.
And there's only one ingress egress so far?
There is. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. So this would improve that situation?
It appears that way.
All right. Dean, if you would, sorry, Bob, if you would just, if that's something that you and the owner are willing to offer up in terms of the gate there, just include that in your response to comments if that's necessitated. Well, thank you. Yeah, and I wanted to bring that up as well. Dean kind of touched on it. The land development code and the comp plan definitely speak to that interconnectivity between existing development sites and new ones. So this is not something that the applicant is just doing for the sake of doing it. So, Bob, what's your recommendation?
Make recommendation to conditionally approve pending successful resubmittal.
Thank you, Bob. Any questions, comments, concerns, discussion? No? All right, we have a recommended motion.
Move.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I know we just voted on this. I just have one last question, Dean. I meant to bring it up earlier. What is the construction access going to be there, just for the public information here? Where are we gonna bring our trucks in from?
We could enter from either road. If it's more desirable to come through Rendezvous, we could. We are going to be detailing the tie-in to Rendezvous. When I'm out there, I can assess the condition of it, maybe see if I can get Public Works with me and see if they have a preference on, which road to access through.
Okay.
If Rendezvous is really in the shape that I last saw it in, they may not want us traversing it with truck traffic. And again, this is only going to be 3 homes, so it's not going to be a lot of construction traffic, but there will be, concrete trucks and trusses being delivered, sure.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Would you be amenable to improving Rendezvous lane?
At the connection and the cul-de-sac, yes, but not the entire road.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Sir, you're up and you're asking, but I'm going to ask you to come up to the microphone, please.
I apologize. I was trying to get with him as well. I'm just trying to understand. You said that the county promotes the connectivity. I'm not saying against it. I'm just asking what is the benefit of that. So, just the ease of access for the emergency vehicles is all?
Yeah, when you get a large fire truck in a cul-de-sac, it's very difficult to turn around.
Yeah.
Cul-de-sac has to be so huge that it's not really a cul-de-sac anymore, it's just open space.
Oh, no, I completely
So
understand.
with those big trucks, it's giving emergency services much better access. They can access at either point and come in and exit straight through. So actually, it's gonna give y'all a little bit better emergency services ability there, that they can come in from both sides. If there's a structure fire, the amount of trucks that will be on that road for a structure fire coming in from both sides is gonna give you a big benefit.
No, I understand. That's what I just want to know, because other than that, it doesn't seem like it would be a benefit even to these homes.
Right, and if
So-
you have an ambulance service that's over on the opposite side, on the other
Yeah.
side of Rendezvous, they can get through or straight in, and it's a faster access for y'all too.
Understood. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. This item has been conditionally approved to move forward pending successful address of all outstanding comments. Thank you. Next item is number 6, looks like minor 25-5 Best Life Med.
Good morning.
Morning.
Item number 6, Best Life Med. This is a request to approve by development order, project number MIN 26000005. This is a minor development order application submitted by Palmer Construction Management LLC on behalf of Best Life Med LLC, requesting to develop one warehouse and one medical office totaling 8,000 square feet on 1.19 plus or minus acres with the future land use and zoning category of Bay Walton Sector Plan Village Center. The property is in District 5 on the east side of Palustris. Did I say that right? Okay, I guess so. Hearing none. Palustris Road, north of, oh boy, Calacarpa Road, south of Saranoia Road. Sorry, excuse me.
No, you're doing a great job, Ayanna.
Thank you. And can be identified by the parcel number of your staff report. May I enter the staff report into the record?
So entered.
Okay. So for this project, I will state that there are some pending pieces of information in the staff report. I do want to make it known that the comments in the staff report are the technical review of the applicant's submittal uploaded to EnerGov between January 16th and February 9th. Anything that has been uploaded thereafter will be reviewed in preparation for the next meeting or before the DO is issued. So I just want to point that out up front. We are missing some technical reviews from environmental and South Walton Fire as of the date of the staff report. There are several outstanding comments from different departments. You can read a little bit more about what the applicant is proposing in the narrative letter in Exhibit 3. But besides that, do you have any questions?
Any questions for
Concerns?
staff? No.
Okay,
No,
I'll
thank you.
turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you.
Morning, my name is Jordan Palmer, Palmer Construction Management, here on behalf of my client, Best Life Med. I believe this is a pretty straightforward project in a commerce park. We have one building, 4,000 square feet of flex space with 2 tenant spaces, and then the owner is planning to occupy the medical space. The park allows 10,000 square feet on these lots, but we have reduced it to 8,000 square feet to accommodate the additional parking for the medical use. At this point, it's being permitted as shell construction only.
How are you parking the flex space?
The parking, you have parking across the entire front of the 2 flex space units, and then a larger parking at the end that would serve as employee parking for the medical space and any overflow parking.
What's the standard you use for the uses that you don't know will exist there?
The flex space is office warehouse standard has been applied, and the medical space is medical space.
And what are you all proposing to do in terms of limiting the uses allowed in that flex space?
I think that that's part of the cluck and review process that will be required by the landlord prior to signing leases. But typically we're seeing those spaces as, a plumber, electrician, some type of minimal office use and mostly warehouse use.
Okay. So you use the general business standard, 1 to 350?
No, sir. I believe it was an office warehouse. Trying to get.
Yeah, Ayanna, what can you speak to that?
Can you hear me? Okay. So the parking space calculations were based on 7 spaces per 1,000 square feet for medical uses, 1 space per 250 square feet for non-medical office space use, and 1 space per 3,000 square feet for warehouse and storage uses. And that's on the site plan and in the staff report.
Okay. So did you all already go through a bit of analysis in terms of how much warehouse space could be utilized here?
Yes, sir. Well, the flex space, the 8,000 or the 4,000 square foot building is all, intended as office warehouse space. I think there is no known tenant at this time, so occupancy is a little hard to speculate. But they have been made aware of the review process with the county prior to, it signing leases there.
Okay, I just don't want surprises to come down if you guys lease off a space and then they come in with something that's overparked and we're all left,
Right, and I believe that use would be identified through the cluck process. Currently, they'll be turned over as warehouse space with single bathrooms, no office or anything. So any modification to that flex space will require additional permitting.
Thank you. All right, sorry for interrupting. Please continue if you've got anything else.
I think it's pretty straightforward. That's about all I have to say unless you have any questions.
I don't. Any questions for the applicant? No? All right.
I think we've addressed, we've made the revisions that were requested. The only lingering item that hasn't been submitted and updated to the county is title on the survey. So waiting to verify that information to get that update, but everything else has been addressed.
Okay, it looks like you guys are still missing environmental and fire and life safety.
Waiting on their review, yes, sir. But all feedback that we received prior to this meeting, those modifications have been made.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, again, this is a minor, and I'll ask anyone in the public that has technical questions, comments, or concerns to go ahead and come up. See none. Ayanna, do you have a recommendation?
My recommendation is to approve with the condition that all technical reviews are complete and all outstanding comments must be addressed prior to issuing the development order.
Okay, thank you. I will say that while it is unusual to have a recommendation or to make that motion when we're missing comments, I do think that based on the fact that this is in a previously approved commercial or industrial park, clearly the site has been developed, both the infrastructure and in terms of clearing. So I'm not really concerned about what those comments might be. I think if there's any, they will be easily addressed. But if you have any other questions, comments, concerns, discussion, let's have it now. Okay, we have a recommended motion.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Best Life Med has been conditionally approved to move forward pending all outstanding comments having been submitted and addressed successfully. Thank you. Next item is number 7, the Santa Rosa, FSER.
Good morning.
Morning, Tim.
This is a minor development order application submitted by Catalyst Design Group PC, requesting approval to develop a 10,860 square foot freestanding emergency room and associated infrastructure on 2.59 acres with the future land use of mixed use and a zoning of village mixed use. Property is located in District 5, just west of the Publix shopping center on the north side of Highway 98. This is part of a previous two-phase project. The first phase was Avid Storage. It's built. This was phase 2. We have outstanding planning comments, engineering, traffic, floodplain, environmental, and it's not really something that has to, well, additional information from Eglin because it's in one of the military training routes.
So
I did.
we're still waiting on Eglin comments, is that what you're saying?
No, they just said that would like to note that the project is under a military training route, MTR2. If an illuminated emergency room sign is part of this or future projects on this parcel, the proponent should follow joint land use guidance to ensure that the sign remains less than 100 feet tall and within 140 to 450 something in luminosity. This will help minimize nighttime glare for military aviators utilizing the MTR2. So they signed off on it, but they wanted to make that clear that they would like them to follow that guidance.
Okay.
I handed out the environmental comments. They came in after the staff report was sent out. The main issue, I mean, there's a number of comments, but I think the main issue here, or main concern, is that they did not provide any information concerning the impacted wetlands. They provided the ERP permit, which allows for 2.98 acres of wetlands to be impacted, but they didn't provide what is actually being impacted on the site, and they didn't provide the calculation that those impacted wetlands would be 10% ISR, and you have to do the calculation between what's 85% and what's 10% to give an overall maximum ISR allowance. That wasn't provided, so there's no way to know at this stage whether they can make that work or not. With that, I'd like also there's a number of outstanding scenic corridor comments as well, because this is in the 98 scenic corridor. So with that, I'd like to enter the staff report into the record as well as the environmental comments.
So entered.
And I'll entertain any questions you may have, or I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Any questions for staff? Tim, I've got a little bit, just maybe for some additional clarity. So this was part of a previously approved development order or conceptual master plan or PUD instrument. At that time, I'm assuming that they did some work as it relates to wetlands impacts and how much can occur on this particular site and in terms of the overall development. How does your current concern in terms of wetland impact and our ISR reduction relating to said impacts, how does that kind of, how's that guiding your thinking and your comments here, please?
Well, the best I can tell, based on the original survey for the overall development and the current survey showing this site, it appears that they've filled about 50% of the wetlands on this parcel, because when it was previously approved, they divided it and platted 2 commercial lots. So phase 1, the lot number 1 is Avid Storage, lot number 2 is this parcel. So it appears, of course, I can't be certain without having all the information, but it appears that they filled more than was shown on that original approval for the 2-phase project. And that's why I'm concerned whether they can meet the ISR or not. I mean, maybe they can, I don't have the information, but I'm concerned they cannot make that work, because that 50% of the site would be at 10% and the other 50 would be at 85%, but typically parking alone takes up 10% of a project.
Right. So there's some entitlements as it relates to the previous approval, but we need to get the numbers to make the math.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, this is an approved and platted commercial lot. We just don't have all the information at this stage to make a determination one way or the other.
Understood. Thank you for that additional information, Tim. We'll go ahead and ask the applicant to come up.
Thanks, Tim. Again, Dean Burgess with Emerald Coast Associates. Catalyst Group is the engineering firm on this. They're out of Orlando, and since I did the master plan, I agreed that I would represent the project in these meetings. We have an agent affidavit from them, etc. We did go over all the comments, and to address the wetland impact, they will be adding that to the site data table. I do want to say that, yeah, if you look at this particular parcel by itself, excluding the rest of the master plan, the majority of the wetland impacts were on this parcel, but it needs to be looked at as a whole as the master plan did.
Sure.
And what I can say is the impacts that we proposed in the master plan were greater than what this project impacts when it comes to the wetlands, as well as the ISR. There's less impervious surface than we proposed in the master plan, and there's less wetland impact than we proposed. So I think we'll find that we are well within the limits of the master plan.
Is this the last site to be developed on
It
the
is.
overall? Okay.
Yes, it will be.
Okay.
What we had originally proposed was actually 3 buildings. I think it was 2 restaurants and a medical facility, and this will just be a single facility that occupies all of the rest of the land. Also, the only other comment that I saw that was of any significance was 20-foot parking spaces. I think they had 18 with overhangs. They will be correcting that with the exception of in vegetated areas, not over wetland buffers or anything, but just in vegetated areas. On the south end, they will have a 2-foot overhang with an 18-foot parking space with a 2-foot overhang. One last thing was the condition for a Cloma R under LDC 40904H3. This is something that has come up in recent reviews that I have not experienced, and other engineers in the areas have not experienced, where it is required that we go to FEMA to get a Cloma. The language in the code is actually a conditional statement that says where you provide a flood study to assign an elevation in an unnumbered flood zone. If you intend to change that flood elevation or change the base flood maps, you need to submit to FEMA. In this instance, they're okay paying flood insurance. They don't want to change the maps. They don't want to change the base floods. It's that study, elevation study, was done specifically to meet the land development code, compensatory storage, and on-site fill requirements. So that information was provided in order to substantiate how we meet the code, but it's not our intent to change FEMA's maps. They will be subject to flood insurance, and they're aware of that.
Okay. Have you addressed that in your response to comments?
They intended to. I just wanted to make sure that everybody's nodding with me on that. I didn't want it to become a problem.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying makes sense, but I'll have to review the code again and probably get with Tracy about it, and we'll kind of work through that. But yeah, if you're not required to go through FEMA, then we need to look at the applicability of these comments here, these conditions. So,
all right.
But I understand how that can prove to be something new for the folks that have been doing this work. So we'll get through it.
All right.
So has there been any consideration, and it's just looking at the site, and I'm certainly not an engineer here, but the parking reductions when you put it in the rear against the scenic corridor, that appears to be a potential option here, but maybe was not utilized for whatever reason, that could have potentially reduced wetland impacts. Was that part of the conversations? I mean, I know that Catalyst did the design work.
Yeah, I can discuss that with them.
Okay.
I would imagine they may have, you know, a minimum number of parking spaces that they feel they need
Sure.
to accommodate their clientele. But I can certainly make them aware that, hey, this is, if you want to take advantage of this,
Yeah.
it's out there. But no, we haven't actually had a discussion on that. But
Okay.
I will take it back to them.
I appreciate that.
All right.
All right, any questions for the applicant? No?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone in the public wishing to make any technical comments, questions, or concerns? Okay, seeing none. Tim, do you have a recommendation?
The one thing I failed to mention was we haven't received any fire comments as of today. Well, if we feel comfortable that the ISR is going to be okay, then I don't see any deal breakers in the comments. You know, I think they can respond to these comments and we can move on. If everyone's comfortable with that, then my recommendation would be to conditionally approve it and move it forward to the design review board after all outstanding comments have been addressed and resolved, I should say.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Discussion on this, quite a few comments. They do appear to be relatively minor in nature, clarification based, but they are here.
I am intrigued about the parking in the back versus in the front, to see what that would look like and if it's an option. So I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Any other thoughts, ideas? Let's see here. We do have Brad's comments. They are, again, there's quite a few of them. They are very similar, yeah, I would agree with that. All right, well. Yeah, we do have a recommended motion, but it's up to the committee here. What do y'all want to do?
Move it forward to the next DRC, just so we have time to get some of the comments addressed and find out about the ISR.
Okay, is that a recommended motion?
Yes, sir.
To continue to the next one?
I'll
Yes.
second that.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion to continue for until the, what would that date be? Okay, to March 4th. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We will hear this again on March 4th. Hopefully we'll have all the comments reviewed and all the comments in, and we'll get this thing moving. I know we need additional medical facilities in the South Walton area, so yeah. We'll see you again on the 14th. Thank you. Next item is the Chick-fil-A Drive Thru Modification, number 8.
Yes, thank you. This is a minor developmental application submitted by Interplan LLC requesting approval to add a bypass escape lane to the existing drive-through, striping, curb modifications, and relocating the existing order booth on 0.78 acres with the future land use of mixed use and a zoning of coastal center mixed use. Property is located in District 4 at the corner of Highway 98 and Scenic Gulf Drive. Also, as part of this, they're going to need a deviation from the design review board to encroach into the landscape buffer along Scenic Gulf Drive. It doesn't look like it's going to affect the 98 Scenic corridor buffer, but there was a ruling back, I think it was in the early 2000s, that since this is in two scenic corridors, 98 and Scenic Gulf Drive, that it would be adjudicated under the Highway 98 scenic corridor. So that's why they would need to go to the DRB to get that deviation. So we'll put both of those, this item and that item, on the same agenda. There are outstanding comments from planning, right of way. Looks like there were no engineering or, well, they did want more information because it's in the IGPAL area, so they did want more information on the stormwater system.
What is the stormwater system currently? Is it?
I believe it's exfiltration.
Okay.
I've never seen a pond there, so I think that whole shopping center is exfiltration. This is a separate parcel, but it's being leased by Chick-fil-A. They don't own it. The shopping center owns both parcels, so it's a master stormwater system. But why I did want more information, because it's in the IGPAL, which requires the 100-year storm event. Looks like that's all the outstanding comments. We have not received any fire comments to date. I didn't really do a scenic corridor review because most of it would have just said NA, because the only real issue is encroaching into that buffer, which will require the deviation. So with that, I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, please.
So entered.
And I'll entertain any questions you may have, or I'll turn over to the applicant. But this is a fairly straightforward application, and a lot of these drive-throughs have this escape lane, so you don't have to just sit there and wait before you can get through the drive-through. This is just a very tight parcel.
How much encroachment is being proposed? Is that one of your questions, to provide additional detail there, or?
No, but it's 8 feet. They're going to encroach 8 feet into the 10-foot scenic corridor, Scenic Gulf Drive landscape buffer. So they will have to remove some trees, and they'll put some more shrubs in there, but with 2 feet, they can't really put more trees. It'll impact over time. It'll probably impact the asphalt. But yeah, that's their proposal. They want to encroach into that buffer by 8 feet.
So that's a fairly substantial encroachment on a very highly visible corner, in a well-traveled corner. Jeez. How are you feeling about the DRB approving that deviation?
They did go to the DRB to get some feedback,
Yeah.
and they seemed willing to allow it, just because of it's kind of a normal thing for a drive-through restaurant, and it's not affecting the 98 scenic corridor. Of course, we don't know until they vote, but they seem willing to approve it. And I suggested they do that, because if the DRB wasn't willing to approve it, then this whole thing's kind of a moot point.
Right.
So they did go to the DRB, they got the feedback, and they seemed willing to approve it.
What's the difference or the dimension between the property line and the pathway there? Do you have any idea?
I think that's in the right of way.
Correct.
But how far? She says 6 feet.
Approximately 6 feet from property line to edge of path? Is that state or county right away on that side?
I think it's, Andrew know better, but I think it's Scenic Gulf Drive, because I think that goes beyond Highway 98, but I mean, there's no way to know unless you guys know for sure. Because Scenic Golf is a county road, Highway 98 is a state road.
You know what I would like to see? Actually, do you have anything else to add, Tim?
No.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff before he sits down completely? All right. Come on up, thank you.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Krishna Desai, representing the client Chick-fil-A from Interplan LLC.
Spell your name, please.
Krishna, last name Desai.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so just touching back on the buffer real quick so you guys have an idea. We did go to that feedback hearing, the regular DRB committee meeting. I think it was in November. And we did meet with them to get some feedback, and they did request to add a fence with additional shrubbery, kind of if you've seen like one of those trellises with greenery going up the wall. So we did propose that in this new submittal for the to satisfy that comment with them. And then regarding the buffer, that was the only concern that they had. We did let them know that it would extend stacking, so there wouldn't be as much circulation and clusters throughout that parking area. And then touching on the stormwater, Tim was right, it is existing exfiltration trenches. However, there is a small portion of it on our property and the rest of it is on that shopping center's property. So we can definitely confirm that our numbers don't increase or add additional runoff, but we would need that original report from the shopping center, which is something we can't obtain, but we could definitely use it once we have it.
Okay. So do you have any concerns that the additional impervious surface could negatively impact that existing exfil system?
No, sir, because I believe originally what we could find, there was an 85% impervious area allowable. And that trench system, we're only increasing about 1,600 square feet of impervious. So that exfiltration system should not be impacted with just that 1,600 square feet footage added.
So, and not to get too into the weeds here,
Yeah.
since it sounds like there's some additional work, you use the word should. And
Yes.
so we need to be certain.
Absolutely, yes. Once
Okay.
we do, and I think it was, I'll have to check because I did reach out to Tim, but we couldn't find the original stormwater report from the shopping center. But once we have that, we can definitely compare the numbers to be completely sure.
Okay.
This is just based off what we have on our site and what we can calculate. And then once we have that approved report to just cross-reference, that should be enough verification.
Thank you. All right, yeah, proceed, please, with your introduction, if you have anything else.
I don't have anything else in regards to the site. Did the staff review comments? I didn't have any concerns. They seemed a lot of clarification comments. All those can be addressed in our submittal. Other than that, I'm here for any questions you guys might have.
Great. Any questions?
That was a good question you had about storm, underground stormwater. If you put more water in, I mean, you got to do some calculation.
Correct. Yep, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, right. Yep. So usually, typically, like I said, most exfiltration systems are usually allotted an extra square footage. It could be 5,000, it could be 10,000, it could be super small. But with how big it is throughout the shopping center, we're hoping that 1,500 square feet isn't something that should be impacted. Of course, once we get the report and confirm if it happens to not work with our numbers, we can also just add pavers to make sure that that perk and runoff is still attenuated through our numbers.
Okay.
Can you inquire about maintenance records as well for the exfil?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably a fairly older system.
Yes.
What's the lifespan of these things? I mean, with proper maintenance, I mean.
It really depends on where it's located
Yeah.
and maintenance, design.
All right. Fair enough. Still some questions, obviously, that we're
Absolutely.
working through, so
Yep.
I can appreciate that. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and open it up for public comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, anybody with technical questions, comments, or concerns, please come up. All right, seeing none. Tim, you have a recommended motion for us?
This is a pretty old shopping center, but they did tear down the Winn-Dixie building and build the CVS. So that might be the best project to look to try to find some stormwater information, because I'm not sure we'll find much on this shopping center just because it's so old. It's been there a long time. But yeah, there's certainly no deal breakers in the comments. So my recommendation would be to conditionally approve it, move it forward to the design review board once all outstanding comments have been resolved.
Okay, thank you, Tim. I just remembered I do appreciate I think the comments from DRB in terms of the trellis and the vine or whatever. And my suggestion was going to be to potentially work with Public Works in a right-of-way agreement to potentially plant some additional trees in the right-of-way between the sidewalk and the site as an alternative potential improvement there. So, but we have a recommended motion. Any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, this will be conditionally approved to move forward pending successful address of all outstanding comments, as well as fire, which has not been received yet. So, thank you. That brings us to North Beach Village, item number 9.
Yes, thank you. This is a major development application submitted by Dunlap and Shipman, PA, requesting approval of a conceptual PUD of 136 residential units, which would be condominiums and townhomes, 38,847 square feet of neighborhood commercial space and associated infrastructure on 17.84 acres with future land use of mixed use and residential and a zoning of small neighborhood and neighborhood infill. Properties located in District 5 on the north side of Chat Holly Road. So a little background. This originally came in 2021 as Retreat at the Bay PUD. They were asking for density bonus under the small neighborhood zoning, but they weren't doing anything that the code allows density bonus for. So they went back to the drawing board, completely redesigned it, and now it's North Beach Village Conceptual PUD.
Tim, will you touch just briefly on what the code in small neighborhood does require to exceed 4 units an acre?
Don't have that on me, but I think there's, in chapter 2, there's 4 or 5 different items that you can address to qualify for the density bonus.
There are some mandatory things though, correct? Is it the PUD, form-based code, something along those lines, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I just know that when it first came in, they were asking for density bonus, but they weren't meeting any of those items that are in the code that would allow for density bonus. Now, as far as I can tell, they do meet that, so they can get density bonus, and they are asking for density bonus because one of the issues is the correct acreage for this project. There's in the PUD documents in the master PUD plan, there's several different acreages throughout that document. There's no consistency. What is the actual, I mean, the survey does say 1801, so I think that's the right one, but I calculated the density. Well, I did. I calculated on 1801 because that's what the survey says. So that's 7.55 units per acre. So of course, without the bonus, small small neighborhood, which is the lion's share of the acreage, would be 4, and then of course the infill, which is the smaller acreage, would be up to 8. So they are getting some density bonus. They haven't really identified exactly what that is, what that bonus is. We're going from 4 to whatever, 6. That's not really identified, but the elements that allow for it are.
Okay.
So now, originally, this was before we made the changes to the code. They were asking for a detailed PUD. Under the regulations we have now, you have to go through the conceptual PUD approval first and then come back for the detailed approval. So because of that, they do have a lot of the detail now, but of course we're just approving the conceptual at this point.
Right. There's 18 or 19 specific things that they have to do for a
Right,
conceptual.
right. I think there's 18 is what the code has. So there are a lot of outstanding planning comments, but a lot of these address inconsistencies within the documents, within the PUD documents, the master plan documents. We did get fire approval on this one. We do have fire comments. So there was one comment from right away. There was no engineering comments, and there are no traffic comments.
Let me, just for the sake of conversation here, I'm looking at your special considerations section here. So it looks like the PUD is requesting deviations.
Oh, yes, I meant to point that out. They're asking for 3 deviations.
Okay, so I see the first one in terms of parking lot islands. It's requesting to utilize 4 parking rows that exceed 10 parking spaces in a row. And then there's a reference to page 9. What is that deviation there? How many spaces will be between tree islands? Melissa Ward wants to answer that question.
Yes,
If you don't have
she-
the answer.
She would know.
Okay.
But yeah, they're also asking for 5-yard side setbacks for the single family lots. There's 9 single family lots. I said townhomes and condominiums. There are also 9 single family lots. And then there's 4 areas identified in the master plan documents that they want to put the sidewalks on one side of the road as opposed to both sides. And then they're showing the public benefit for the PUD as 5 dual charging stations. It'll service up to 10 vehicles. And a 24-foot shelter, 8 by 24-foot shelter, bicycle parking, and rerouting of Chad Holly multimodal pedestrian path. So that was what was identified in the master plan documents for the public benefit. But they also are providing 2 parks as part of this PUD as well.
2 public parks?
She says yes, they're both going to be open to the public. But that was not identified as the public benefit.
Okay, well, we can explore that a little bit more. Are you through with your introduction?
Well, just to make it clear, the other issue with this is Huck and Tom subdivision is immediately behind this. So they are providing for ingress egress for that subdivision, and the 9 single family lots are mirroring that subdivision, but that's a contentious part of this PUD as well as the Huck and Tom subdivision at the rear, fronting the bay. So I just want to.
What do you mean mirroring? You use the word mirroring.
Same size and layout and that kind of thing as those existing lots.
Are they abutting the Huck and Tom site, or are they elsewhere on the development site?
Yes, but there's a road, the ingress egress is between them, between this project and Huck and Tom. Because right now, you access through this property from Chat Holly to get to Huck and Tom, but they're going to provide an access off of J.D. Miller, right?
I could get up and speak to it.
Well, anyway, that's the current access is through this property.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Tim. Come on up, Melissa.
Hi. So first, let's, in looking at the staff report, there is a in Tim's staff report, and unless I'm mistaken, and it's happened before, he mentions where he on page, I'm trying to find the page, sorry. Oh, here it is. Page 5 of 16 or 6 of 29, based on what was on the website. Under his consistency with the comp plan, he marks no, but there's no reference to an issue with the comp plan. And I would ask that that be amended to be yes. We understand that because we're asking for deviations, the consistency with the land development code is subject to the BCC approval. In addition to that, the comments that the planning department comments are largely about the numbers. We know that the previous plan, the previous documentation, the current documentation, and the documentation that was prepared by the landscape architect had some number differentiation. We've been working on clearing that up. We will clear that up to the accurate account. I will address more clearly the bonus density, but I'd just like to read from the comprehensive plan under small neighborhood that it is a transforming district. By the way, just for clarity, these zonings were on this property already and have been for quite some time. This is not new, okay?
Understood.
So they are to promote a viability of the neighborhood, encourage walkable, bicycle-friendly, designed to conserve energy, reduce emissions, and allows for a residency of 10 units per acre depending on the design and use mixture requirements, and that's in the land development code. So we provided, so the original development plan had the, when you're looking at Chat Holly, going north to the bay, right along Chet Holly, the original plan had some townhomes with ground floor commercial and a very small strip that they would have called a public park, and then into more townhomes behind it all the way up until you got to Huck and Tom's. There's an existing road. Huck and Tom's has an existing road. Huck and Tom's has been there for a long time. So that residential development, which is on the bay, and the this development property comes around it, right? So there's a piece on this side and a piece on that side, and in the middle is the Huck and Tom's subdivision that's on the bay. All right. When we say mirror the subdivision, it is intended, if you look at page 13 of 29 of the staff report, you'll notice that the lots are not straightforward, they're not specific size, and they fluctuate based on the way that they were developed. We are talking about putting 9 lots in that allow for that 5-foot side setback, is to allow for the houses to shift and move, nothing more than that. It's not an extraneous, difficult, like we're just trying to shift and move them so that they have similarities to the houses that are on the bay. In between those, there's the road that will be accessed through that. During construction only, we would be able to come off of J.D. Miller and come down into the development to not disturb as much as possible the traffic that goes to Huck and Tom's through that road until it is those improvements. So we would open up an entranceway off of J.D. Miller. Once the construction and all of that is complete, our proposal is to gate it or put in bollards in order to not have through traffic based on the request of the people on J.D. Miller Road in that area, in that northern area. So the proposed development includes, if you're looking at sheet MP1, you'll see that there are some ground floor commercial with upstairs residential in sort of U-shaped areas. Those internal areas along Chet Holly and in that are open to the public. We are not proposing, there can be an easement on it, but we're not proposing to give it to the county. It is going to be a public area for people to as they're walking up and down Chet Hall, if they want to just sit down and take a break or go in there, whatever, that's completely, it's open to the public. Just, and from that is similar to what Rosemary Beach has done and what Seaside has done, right? So further, as you go behind those buildings further up, you'll see there are some townhomes, and then there's open space. There is through here a mosquito control ditch that we are obviously leaving alone, and that there's some stormwater ponds and wetlands that are all in that area that creates that open space. At the entrance that's on Chet Holly, which is Huck and Tom's and being slightly modified, that area will have sidewalks that are coming in, but directional sidewalk signs and information that puts the people who are in the townhomes and coming in off of Chet Holly to the commercial areas, but not on both sides of the roads where you would have traffic from the parking areas. That's the deviation. Where these sidewalks would put people who could potentially be in harm's way, we would ask that we not put sidewalks there and direct traffic directly to the safer areas. As you go further north, there's some townhomes there with some continued open space and amenity for a swimming pool, and then the subdivision, and then behind that is the park that is on the bay, that is a seating area and only has a little bit of area, and that's for the internal neighborhood. It's not specifically open to the public. It doesn't have a public access to get all the way, like I can't drive from Freeport and come over there and hang out.
Are you talking about the eastern little park?
On the western side of the property.
The western side will not be open to the public.
It is not designed to be open to the public based on the request from Huck and Tom's. So we've had 3 community meetings on this property. So I just want to make sure that this site plan that you're seeing here was presented already to the community. I understand there's new growth since we've been going through this because it's taken us years to get to this. The development on the south side is not meant for any kind of, or I'm sorry, the little area that's on the east side is meant to just be open space. It is not meant for a park. It's not even meant for necessarily for people to traverse to. It's got a walking trail that I think is pre-existing mostly anyway. So this is not, so just so we're clear, there's 2 public areas on the south side on Chet Holly where the public will be open and available. You can go shopping, they can sit down and have lunch outside, they can, that's what that's for. The one to the north is a park, but it's not going to be open necessarily for, non-residential people in that community to go up there and utilize. So going back to the comments, the majority of the comments that we have are about the cleaning up of the documentation. Speaking to the deviations, we have the parking islands. So just behind the commercial component, there are areas where they have strips, that parking. And the code requires for every 10 parking spaces, you have a landscape island. What they did was they increased the end islands for landscaping while having more units so that you don't have straggling parking spaces and cutting up that parking design. We still meet our open space landscaping requirements. We just have 11 spots instead of 10 and then a straggler. And that's behind that commercial component. It's for consistency and clean lines. As for the building setbacks, again, that's on the single family part, and that's so that they can shift the houses a little here and there without a great deal of impact. The sidewalks, which we have already explained. In addition to that, because of, in addition to that, there will be a 4th deviation requested, which we understand may or may not get approved, but we are asking, in our next submittal, we are going to add to that the request to have the phases come back as minor development orders as a deviation to that section of the code. So I just want to put everybody on notice. That's what we're going to ask for.
So you would come back with the detailed master plan, a detailed PUD for approval, or you would not? You're asking that the phases to build out would be
right. Once the overlay district and the entitlements are tied down in the overlay district, we would ask that the development phases come back as a minor. think if there's really, I would say too that this proposal for this development has minimal amount of any kind of wetland impacts. As those, we do have to have a crossing, which is because Huck and Tom's already crosses over that. We may have to do permitting for any shifting of that. That is, that road gets improved, but we are not impacting for uplands to develop, residential or commercial space. Significantly is, I think the whole impact area is like an acre, and I don't think it's related distinctly for upland area. And then there was another comment about, for clarity, again, the uses that are proposed in here, the mixed use category is consistent and complies with the small neighborhood and neighborhood infill development standards. The density bonus, which again, overall, that density is around 7.5 units an acre, but we can clarify which sections, what that density is and how that moves around so that we make sure that that's in the report and you have that available to you. And we meet all the requirements under the comp plan, under the PUD requirements regarding buffers, public use, mixed use categories, and so forth. So we would just ask that you be able to, since the comments that are related to it are about cleaning up some documentation and less about, we've already gotten a final approval or the approval through engineering and so forth, and we don't have any other outstanding comments other than I'm not sure, I haven't seen what environmental, unless they've changed the comment from the last time. They have we have already added the wetlands and the amount of all that, so I think these might be old comments. However, we'll meet with Bradley and discuss those. Thank you.
I have one question for clarity. The 10 by 50 pickup lane.
Melissa?
Melissa, can you identify where the 10 by 50 pickup lane is that's referenced in the staff report as a public benefit?
The 10 by 50 pickup lane. Oh, the shelter. I'm sorry, the transit stop.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
on Chat
clarifies
Holly.
it.
Yeah, that's, okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Melissa, I have a question.
Yes.
But Curtis knows though. Thank you for giving us the 25 feet and keeping that road for us to access. I just had one question though, like on Vista View Drive, like that crossover from the ditch over the road, going north-south on the west side of the property. Is there gonna be like curbing there that we have to cross over, or is it gonna be like a little apron or something we can get around? Cause we've been having problems with all these new developments, us cracking pavement or concrete, and we're gonna have to be doing sidewalks and curbing.
We could certainly address that when we get into, remember this is conceptual, but when we get into the technical side, we could try to figure out what's best for that, whether we leave a ribbon curb cut open to drive through easier. Like in Hawks Landing, we did the 3-inch curb, the rolled curb. That tends to be pretty easy to drive over, but if you don't want it, we can try to avoid that. We certainly would want it where it actually crosses the wetland. We want to have some barriers there for cars to not easily drive off.
Right.
And on one side, we'll have a sidewalk on that. We're also trying to stick with the size of the crossing. That was another reason for the single sidewalk, is we don't want to increase the wetland impact in that crossing width. So that's a part of it. The culverts that are there are old, not in great shape, so we probably would upsize and replace those. When the time comes to do detailed analysis, we do have a pretty significant culvert in the middle that would take the ditch. There's a ditch right in the middle that goes north-south, and we'll do a pretty substantial analysis on that to right-size that culvert. I believe that some of the flooding on Chat Holly in that area is just due to poor drainage conveyance systems in that area, that we can address quite a bit of that with this particular culvert.
Glad you just brought that up, yeah, because I saw that you're gonna pipe a little section of that going north to the ditch.
Right.
I've seen that ditch.
Yeah, and a lot of that area has just they're not even storm boxes, they're just kind of openings in the side there, and they're totally clogged up. they don't flow off very well. So that results in a lot of flooding we see on Chat Holly. So when the time comes, we'll do a pretty substantial analysis to see how we can try to eliminate or minimize or eliminate all the flooding in that particular area.
Thank you.
One thing I failed to mention is I handed out public comment that we've received since the staff report went out. So I'd like to enter the staff report and that public comment into the record, please.
So enter. Thank you, Tim.
I wanted to mention one thing. I think it's on this comment letter, but there was a mention of the traffic report being old, which was not the case. I think the problem is there are versions of the original submittal that were put into Intergov. This project used to be on CitizenServe. So there could be some confusion, and it's probably very important that everybody review and be sure we're looking at the newest stuff, because that traffic report was updated in 2024, I believe, middle to third quarter of 24.
To reflect the current.
As of 2024, which actually we have not had a substantial update to the CMS since then. We have had additional project trips, but no actual counts have changed since then. I believe 22 is what we're currently on. Do you know? I think so.
I would have to check. I'm not going to
I
commit
looked
to
at the
any.
CMS this morning. I think 22 is the last major update we had. So it does have updated numbers. And, you know, there's a lot of detailing about turn lane warrants, at which phase of the project the warrants would be there and all that. And it's not going to change based on the small amount of projects that have happened since that analysis is done. They're warranted in the report. So
They were previously warranted, they're still warranted.
And it's important to understand that that report is looking at all those turn lane warrants we looked at was today's conditions as well as projected trips from the CMS.
Sure.
So once we hit the projected trips, I know what I just said, there might be some confusion. We did the analysis based on projected trips, not what's there and what's been built over the last 3 years. They look at what's entitled for the area, and that's what triggered the warrants on the turn lanes was the entitled trips, not today's trips.
Okay. And then the updated traffic analysis reflects the newly proposed density and intensity, right? Okay. Yeah.
Steven, is there plans down the road to redo Chet Holly? Because I mean, I drive it every day. I'm backed up all the way for 3 or 4 lights right there every day. I'm glad he addressed the traffic because he can barely handle it anymore. I mean, it's pretty bad.
Well, I can't speak to what's being planned in terms of what's coming from Public Works, but I know that, you know, the additional rights of way in Nelly and.
I know
and
Nelly's
others
going
will,
through,
right.
and then I think they're talking about Blue Mountain North going all the way through.
Nelly is the first one. I believe Blue Mountain North is the next one slated.
Yeah.
And there is one more. Which road was the third one? But in the near term, Nelly, of course, is under construction. I mean, it's going to be the first one up, as well as the intersection improvements at 331 and Chet Holly. That's a pretty big pain point for some, is the turn lanes there. And those plans are done. I don't know when the construction date is set to start. I'm not sure if you know that, but those plans have been done for a while, I believe.
So, yeah, I mean, hopefully those improvements will provide some relief for the folks. I've heard some discussions about widening Chat Holly, but that's really the extent of what I understand. Just preliminary sort of discussions, so.
I would put on record that these comments do state that a detailed traffic impact analysis will be required for each phase.
Yep. All right. Well, I suspect some of you have comments out there, so please come up.
Under the weather. I am a homeowner at 84 Huck and Tom's, and
What was your name, ma'am?
Crystal Montero,
Montero.
Monteiro. And I'm not against the development, but I am concerned about the density and how it affects the community as a whole. I know that, you know, Chat Holly, as you said, it has well over 7,000 vehicles on a daily. We were on our way here from 98, and traffic was backed up from Heirloom Donuts all the way to 331. I mean, it was all the way backed up. I have a whole video. I took it the whole way, and the traffic that's coming south from Freeport is turning on to Chat Holly now, and because they see that traffic and they're going to take the detour. So Chat Holly is just piling up, and it's very concerning. And there's no upgrades planned through 2030. I mean, we can't handle. I get the development, but let's plan to be able to handle the traffic flow coming in. Also, it's not even just that, it's also the schools. Walton County High School is right there. They're over capacity right now. Nobody is taking that into consideration. There's over 19 kids per teacher in the school. That's not fair to the kids. It's not fair to this community. Also, this month, South Walton Utilities is increasing their impact fees 25% starting this month because the capacity is at its max. They have, I believe, let's see, 92 projects. The county has the 5-year plan lists 92 projects just to keep up with this flow of all the extra developments and stuff being built. Also the traffic report, thank you so much, because I think that 2024 and today, we are in a totally different place, and we all know that. We all know that this place, it just keeps growing, and it's not taking into consideration what's already been passed and already been through. I mean, we are directly affected. When you turn off of J.D. Miller on to Chat Holly, so you're going down to J.D. Miller, you turn right onto Chat Holly, then you take a direct left onto Huck and Tom's, and that's a dangerous little switcheroo right there. You can't just, you barely can see coming in and out now. That's going to hold up traffic even more. That's not going to work, and the density going in, that's directly, literally this is surrounding us as a whole. I mean, there's got to be something that we can do. I am all for making this place beautiful, and I'm not against development, but we need to work together and do something we can all be happy with, and it's safe for the community. I mean, I worry about the kids walking to and from school, Walton County, and you also know J.D. Miller, that road, they've got those rows, townhomes, and all those cars are just lined up on the sides of the road already. I mean, it's just packed. We've got the apartments right there. I think that we really need to just step back and reassess the situation. And I don't think that there's been enough due diligence done to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I'm Evan Brand. Yeah, I mean, if you look on Google Maps at that area now, like, it's hard when you're in this room to comprehend how busy and how crazy it is. I live half a mile from this development. It took us 30 minutes to get our kids to school in Blue Mountain today. My wife is just like, this is crazy. You've got apartments there. You have Artisan Living North Beach right there on Old Barn Way. There's a ton of popper-uppers going in right now. If you just look on Google Maps at the amount of density that's already in that area, I can't even comprehend that much more density. I moved here from Kentucky 4 years ago. My wife was 32 weeks pregnant with baby number 3, and we fell in love with this place. And I've already seen the amount of development in 4 years make it not as beautiful. And you look at the housing market, you've got houses sitting on the market, you've got tourism that was down last year due to all the crazy stuff with the beach. This is turning into a place that I don't even recognize, and I'm not even a local that's been here for 20 years like some of the people I've talked to in this area. Frederick Olmsted, who designed Central Park in the 1800s, he also designed Cherokee Park in Louisville, Kentucky, where I'm from, which is around 400 acres. So when I hear talk about a park, if the whole property is only 13 acres, that's not a park. The only access for people in South Walton to really get to the bay, you've got the Bay Restaurant, you have Bayside Ranchettes in Point Washington off of East Mitchell. It's not a park. It's a tiny strip of land where people smoke cigarettes and throw trash on the ground. So if we actually care about preserving the nature, yeah, we have state forest, yeah, we have Great Beach State Park, but if you're a local and come spring break here, I don't want to try to go fight the 30A traffic to get to the park or get my kids to the park. I mean, I think the county made like $200 million or something on short bed tax. You guys have the money. Buy the whole property. Preserve it all. We need a place for the kids to have access to go run and play. That intersection is scary. It's only going to get more scary. So I would advise, put the development somewhere else. We don't need it in this area. I mean, you've got way more stuff towards Destin, way more stuff towards Panama City. Try to preserve this area. The state forest is just not enough. Saying, you know, I want people to have more than an acre to go to. You have Legion Park over there in Miramar, but once again, you've got a tiny little strip of land. So I just think it's too dense. It's too dense, and nobody wants it. And when you're sitting in this room, it's hard to comprehend it. But if you guys go sit there, I promise, take a lunch break, go sit at that intersection of J.D. Miller and Chat Holly, and you will realize, okay, we have a big problem here. And I mean, I would foresee a traffic light needing to be added. I know that sounds crazy now, but how do you do this without a traffic light? That's how busy it is right now. And you got 50 soccer moms in Tahoes that are very stressed trying to turn off J.D. Miller to go back down Chat Holly. So I got to go to work, but I appreciate your all's time so much. Thanks for hearing me out.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nina Miller. I live on J.D. Miller Road North. My property backs up to this property directly. And I was here the last go around for this development. And I'm gotta say, I'm shocked that they're talking about using J.D. Miller Road North for the construction. That came up in the last meeting. And I let them know that that is actually a one-lane road, which they didn't seem aware of. I know I wasn't asked anything about that being used as a construction road. I can't even imagine what that would be like. It's already very, very tight. Like I said, only one car can get through at a time. I have lived at this property for 8 years. I'm super, super familiar with this area. I walk it, I bike it almost daily. I have 2 kids, so I'm on Chat Holly every single day, all day long. Every time I leave my neighborhood, I'm at the intersection of J.D. Miller and Chat Holly. It's definitely way too busy to be a 2-way stop. I would say it's borderline dangerous. I obviously see the accidents that happen there because every time I leave my house, I have to go out that intersection. Of course, certain times of the day are busier than others. Like they mentioned, the schools, the Boys and Girls Club, soccer games, and then everyone knows that drives that from J.D. Miller to 331 is crazy. It gets super backed up, like you said. It's also, I mean, I'm not an expert on stormwater, but anyone can see that every time it rains, the road is flooded there. So I can only imagine what another development would do for that. Right now, they're cutting down every single tree, just a couple parcels down the Dock of the Bay subdivision, which is pretty devastating. No one's really talked about trees, but to me, it's a very, very important part of our ecosystem. As I said, our property backs up to this property, and anyone that's seen it knows that there are lots and lots and lots of old growth trees on all of our property lines. My neighbors and I, there's huge live oaks. I would be very, very, very concerned about those being cut down, and I would love to know what the plan is. If you're talking about parks, I would hope that our trees along our property lines and other ones would remain there. But mostly the traffic at that intersection, I mean, anyone that lives there and uses that road and that intersection knows that there's no way. and using our road. I mean, it was a private road until a few years ago where we got a letter that said that it's a county maintained road now. But since that letter, nothing has changed besides them cutting down the trees by the electrical wires recently. So it is still very much a one-lane road, and I can't, like I said, I can't even imagine all of the construction for that many units coming in and out of our little tiny road. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, hey, I don't want this conversation occurring.
At the
Melissa-
request of the homeowners on JD Miller, you said that we weren't even told about this. I saw it on Facebook, and I've never been asked about anyone using our road.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Who's next, please?
Good morning. My name is Anastasia Stahl, Stull. I'm a homeowner at 288 Huck and Tom's Road. I was born and raised here. I think the development and planning in this area needs to be very thoughtful. I've seen it change kind of in a very drastic, rushed way without considering a lot of infrastructure and thoughtful planning. I think North Beach Village is very comparable to a lot of the other projects that have popped up in the area that are causing all the traffic and all the disruption and are the basis of all the complaints today. Many small units and projects with hundreds of residences. North Beach Village, as it's proposed, completely surrounds our property. The road runs right through our currently private driveway, which was intended to be private. The park on the west, the amount of families and individuals that are going to have access to that area based on the number of units that are planned for North Beach Village, it's the only waterfront access, so I imagine everybody from that entire development is going to want to use it. If there's also retail space, I'm not sure how you're going to prevent people that are using the retail space, if they're coming for a coffee, to also go down and enjoy our waterfront. That backs up to, my property and the homeowner to my left. So that's a, huge disruption. There have been mentions of inconsistencies in the documents regarding the density bonus description. We have not had an opportunity to properly respond or review to any of that. I just closed on the 6th of this month. But in addition to myself, some of the other families that are here, the Fords, the Monteros, the Pellys, they have not had an opportunity for a community meeting with the developer. I think the last community meeting, I believe it was mentioned that there were 3 of them. I think there were 2 of them, and the last one was in 2021. So that is something that I am requesting personally today, that we have an opportunity to participate in the conversation as to what is going to actually be built there. There was also a mention that the units as proposed are the same size and layout. Townhomes are not comparable to the single-family homes that we have on Huck and Tom's. So I think that needs to be addressed. And sincerely, just very, very concerned about the traffic on Chat Holly. I think Crystal already addressed that there needs to be a detailed analysis of that. So also completely supportive of that. I'm a mother of small children, and we have little boys riding bikes and things like that. So if they want to be able to actually go outside and actually use their property, then we need to look at, where they're going to be able to ride or where they're going to be able to walk. I think that's it. We have significant other comments that are, I think the entire neighborhood is wanting, like I said, to participate in this discussion. So I hope you'll take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, John King.
Morning.
As to I think this property, all of this to Chet Holly was originally part of Huck and Tom's property. Was that Melissa? Yeah, it was all one parcel, and In the, I was curious about, Stephen, this is a question for you or Melissa's. Putting in this new road, and I don't have a dog in this fight, I had asked this question, is the road getting to Huck and Tom, isn't that being improved? And it apparently it is. And, you know, that adds tens of thousands of dollars per owner of value. They may not want that, but I mean, it really cleans up a problem. Huck and Tom, I think, went under, the developer went bust in the early 80s. And, but there was, I'd love to see what the bigger plan is. Now that there's sewer out there, they could have, I'm sure it's going to be more dense than the original plan with no sewer. But as to the traffic, there is a planned 2 left outs at Chet Holly and 331. That'll alleviate a tremendous amount. But the plan, the Public Works didn't go forward with that. They just did some improvements right there, primarily centered around safety and crossing to get to the restaurant from the parking lot. So that's going to, the 2 left outs, I'd encourage you to try to get that put on the front burner instead of the back burner. You know, you've got potentially 2 new schools, 1 school under design on South Nellie. That's going to be primarily for that area, and some overcrowding in some other schools, which is awesome. And then you have the potential, if they'd ever give you enough time in the planning department to plan, probably the biggest bang for the buck on Chet Holly, assuming that if signaled at Chet Holly and Nellie, and the Blue Mountain Beach connection does not alleviate it enough for people's satisfaction, you have the biggest bang for the buck you could ever put. If you ride down there, almost all the expensive improvements, bike path or sidewalk, curbing are on the north side of the road. Overhead utility primarily is on the north side of the road. You've got, on the south side, you've got virtual clean slate. The idea being you could have the south lane, the eastbound lane, be a simple turning lane where you could have an additional south lane, east lane, and you only have to deal with 41 owners, and the county's one of them that owns a mile on that road. So, I mean, that would alleviate a tremendous amount of issues. So, on a technical side, you know, trying to get out of there is a mess on certain hours, but the planned improvements ought to alleviate a tremendous amount of that for the no doubt future growth. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Chris Pelly, Chris Pelley. I live on Huck and Tom's Road. First, the staff report clearly states that this project is not currently consistent with the comprehensive plan and not consistent with the land development code. If the application is acknowledged as inconsistent, advancing forward to this deficiencies would be premature. You know, we talked about the difference in acreages. I mean, that's important because the proposed density of 7.55 units per acre is entirely dependent on the acreage being accurate. You know, the commercial space footage is also inconsistent. You know, it states 36,000 and change, 38 something. You know, we don't know what will be built in this commercial area. You know, it could be a Dollar General, it could be a small coffee shop. I mean, we have no idea or no control, you know, what it is. I mean, this is not 98. I mean, this is Chat Holly. I mean, it's a family neighborhood with mostly, until recently, you know, single family detached homes on half-acre lots, quarter-acre lots. Let's see. You know, it really needs to be spelled out exactly what this is. You know, the object and size and vagueness of this commercial area. You know, again, this is Chat Holly, not 98. The parcel in yellow, I believe, is neighborhood infill with very specific requirements. The large parcel is small neighborhood, which specifically states in G2 of the Land Development Code that commercial must be pedestrian friendly. I know this is a conceptual plan, but judging by the size and number of the parking spaces, this does not meet the intent of code for pedestrian friendly commercial. Developer is misusing the plan unit development to maximize the frontage on Chat Holly, as if it was just zoned just commercial. Another big concern, we talked about the traffic. The area's experienced substantial growth since the last traffic study that was in the report was 2021. And it also said on the staff report, South Church Street, which is like 4 miles away. And what happens on Church Street? Well, now because of the 393 is under construction, everyone's using Church Street. So, I don't know where they got why they would do a traffic study on Church Street in 2021. As everyone knows, this area's changed a lot since then. The intersection of Chat Holly Road and J.D. Miller is not reflected of 2021 volumes, as an updated traffic impact analysis should be required before any advancements. Also performed at the intersection of Chat Holly and J.D. Miller, not Church Street. Even in you mentioned there was one done in 2022. I don't see that in the report. A lot of this area has changed in the last 4 years. There's probably, 300 to 500 more units, mostly townhomes in that area now, which there wasn't in 2022. That's a big change. Beyond the inconsistencies, the applicant is requesting several deviations from the land development code. One landscape island is required for every 10 parking spaces, with islands on each row. I'm not sure if that's for the parking for the townhomes or if that's for that little park or they're calling a park. That's a private dock for their community. I'm not really sure.
For the commercial component.
Okay, for commercial. Okay. And then also the deviation, a lot of us on Huck and Tom's are concerned about is the, setback from 5 feet from 7.5 to 5 feet. The applicant is requesting a reduction of 5 foot for the single family homes. In addition to proposed designs as driveways facing the homes on Huck and Tom's Road. That's going to be, they basically butt up to each other. Huck and Tom's is a very narrow one-lane road. It's not suitable for increased traffic from 9 additional homes. There's much safer and more alternative designs that would orient the homes to face south or on Huck and Tom, or the actual Huck and Tom's Road that runs north and south with separate access on each side. Anthony can talk more about that. He kind of reworked how some of those could be laid out as an alternative. Another reason why we need another community meeting to discuss that. Then we need some kind of isolation buffer from all these homes. There has to be some kind of a buffer, an alternative, to share our 1-lane road with 136 units plus 11 homes. And no, these design of these homes, we know nothing about them. Are they going to be rentals? Are they going to be long-term rentals, short-term rentals? Are they going to be shotgun houses, 2 stories? We don't know anything about. Are they going to be, have yards? We know nothing about these homes. And they said it mirrors some of the homes. A lot of these homes were built in 1985. Anybody building on the bay or near the bay, they're not going to build what they built in 1985. My home is 4,200 square feet. I don't think it models anything in this neighborhood. These are not minor adjustments. These are reductions to established standards intended to protect safety, pedestrian access, neighborhood compatibility, and overall design quality. Deviations require clear determination of equal or superior performance, and that burden has not been sufficiently met. The applicant proposes as a public benefit to get the density bonus. 5 electric vehicle charging stations and an 8x20 shelter. I don't see how that really, benefits. Not just it's supposed to benefit the entire county and the area, not just their neighborhood. Another issue, I went back and looked. I don't recall seeing anything about 3 meetings. I know there was one in 2021. I don't think anyone maybe a couple people may have owned in 2021. And I looked back at that community meeting and only 2 people showed up. back then. There was another meeting that was done in 2022. Since that time, there's been significant turnover in ownership along Huck and Tom's and the surrounding neighborhoods. Many current property owners were not residents at that time and have not had the opportunity to review or comment on the proposal in its current form. Development has changed along with its name has been changed. The area has grown, traffic conditions have changed, and the ownerships of Huck and Tom's and the surrounding properties have changed. They're showing on their conceptual plan, there's 2 homes that's just showing lots. There's homes there now, or 2 lots now have homes on them. So, it's not accurate. For these reasons, acknowledged inconsistencies with the comprehensive plan and land development code, conflicting acreages, square footage figures, reliance on outdated traffic data, unresolved environmental accounting, and multiple deviation requests, this application is not ready for approval. And we really don't want to make this into a minor development. All this needs to be laid out. I don't think that's the right thing to do here. I respectfully request the Technical Review Committee denies this application in its current form and require a new neighborhood meeting prior to any future resubmittal, that the current property owners have a meaningful opportunity to review updated plans and provide input under today's conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, before you start, sir, we're gonna just take a 5-minute break.
Sounds good. Gives me time to
and
hand
we'll be
my
back.
handouts.
Thank you. Sir, if you have an extra one, will you give it to Miss Karen, please? Thank you.
I can get you some.
Do you have a copy of what you're handing out? Can I see a copy of what you're handing out?
I don't have an extra copy, but I can email it to you. That'd be a card. Ooh.
I'm telling you, I almost had an accident.
Good Lord.
Oh, I've been down it quite a few times. Live in the podunk capital of the world. This one, yeah.
will be done.
Yeah. Right, right. Yeah, I think they are. It's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah, there's some options. Right. Yep. All right.
Hurry, just in time. But we brought the big guns.
How you doing?
Page 18.
Oh, I don't have that document.
You don't have this?
No, I don't.
All right, sir, welcome back. Proceed, please.
Thanks. My name is Anthony Montero, Monteiro. I'm a homeowner at Huck and Tom's, 284 Huck and Tom's. I was not part of the original community meetings either. Bought this property in 2021, built on it in 2023. We built $1 million home there. It's on the bay. This is what the community wants. You want bayfront homes to improve, and you want these communities to get better. I'm not opposed to development at all. I own in Freeport. I own in Santa Rosa Beach. I own in Miramar, part of this community. And when I see projects like this, it's concerning because I look at the words preservation and conservation on the monikers when I go to these meetings, and every single time that's all I do is fight against preserving and conserving, because we're not preserving or conserving anything. We're tearing down trees. Probably 3,000 trees are going to get removed to do this project. We're adding mosquito ponds. I know that these guys do a great job to keep mosquitoes out of these neighborhoods. Look at all these mosquito ponds. That's all they become. Impervious area. Walk back there. It's wet. It's just wet. We're gonna infill wet. They say we're not bothering wetlands. Technically, yeah, they probably are. According to code, maybe not, because we let it slip so much. I'm gonna beat the dead horse. The ingress egress to this neighborhood is ridiculous already. Coming off of J.D. Miller, if you think with all the new traffic that when you come off of J.D. Miller and you're gonna take a right and a left instantly with cars coming in both directions, it's a recipe for disaster, hands down. There'll be more accidents there than on 98, guarantee you. They said 121 in and out. We barely get 7 in and out of there a day right now, and it's dangerous. I sit there sometimes for 5 minutes before I can pull out. Huck and Tom's. Imagine 121 people walking. They're gonna put a place for people to sit. It's where people are gonna get smashed into is what it's gonna happen. So no one's talked about birds. I don't know. I've seen multiple bald eagles. I've seen multiple other endangered birds fly into those woods behind us all the time. So I don't know if anybody's done that study. I saw that they did see some sandhill cranes and a couple of other birds. I don't know where that bald eagle lives, but he flies into that woods every single time I see him. It's almost daily when I'm there. So I think we need to address this. I know this is a technical meeting, but it's also a community meeting, because if it gets approved here, then it's just another battle going into the next one. It just is more money, more people's time that want to invest in this community. I gave you guys a couple of options. I think the first option is get rid of the townhomes. Make them single-family homes. Make them compatible to the community. We don't need more townhomes. All townhomes do is bring riffraff. Not always, but in a community like this is north of Chat Holly. Think about what we are doing north of Chat Holly on the bay. We have beautiful restaurants right down the street. We have beautiful homes being built along the bayside. Chris Pelly's house is probably $2.5 million house. We have a $1 million house. The other houses being built to both going east are all amazing homes, and and all of a sudden we're gonna say, well, let's just put a bunch of townhomes in behind those guys because that seems cool. Put some single-family homes in there. Make them nice. Make them 2,000 square feet. Put a garage in there. People will buy those. Not that people won't buy these, but we don't need these. We don't need the density. We don't need the density on this piece of land. This piece of land has been there forever and ever. Huck and Tom's has been there forever and ever. It's quaint community. You go down there, you don't hear anything except the bridge noise. That's all you hear. It's peaceful, it's quiet, it's serene, and it's one of the last places we have in this community that we can enjoy that. And then we're gonna say, hey, let me just slam 120 houses right behind you. Doesn't make sense. The impervious area, I know, again, it meets technical. That's not a place to put a lot of impervious area. I put my house on stilts because I didn't want to ruin the ground. I didn't want it to flood up. I didn't want storms to come in and flood the area. So guess what I did? I put it on some stilts. Make them put them on stilts if they want to build houses. Islands. Some people call them stilts. If you go to the last page on the PUD here, 29, I believe it is. And if you zoom into the old Huck and Tom's Road, and just first of all look at what they're proposing. We have this. I'm the HOA president of Huck and Tom's. There's 9 owners. There's 2 pieces of property in the middle of Huck and Tom's that aren't part of the HOA. So first of all, I'm going to talk about 2 different things. Their proposal, there's no way to get to our homes anymore. They don't provide for any egress or ingress into the Huck and Tom's property. It ends and there's a border. The way that the property jogs, and listen, I don't even know when they drew these property lines, but they're probably the most crazy property lines I've ever seen in my life for a community. If you look at Huck and Tom's, they're all over the place. They're jagged. And where Huck and Tom's Road ends, there's dirt roads that traverse across what is the proposed property now. So we have to drive across those property to get into these. They're not even driveways. It's just a big sandy dirt area, and some of us have driveways, some of us don't. If they do this, the way that the property jogs, 3 of the houses facing on the east side will have absolutely no way to get into their property. They would have to traverse Pelly's property and Bear's property to get to their driveway. So those homeowners would now have to grant an easement to other homeowners to go across their yard to get into their driveways. So this plan hasn't been thought out. It doesn't make sense for the adjoining neighbors, which is us. It doesn't make sense for the overall community whatsoever. So let me go back to page 29, and if you zoom in all the way to where Huck and Tom's ends, it looks like a tree trunk branches out, and you see the red border lines. The red border lines are the Huck and Tom's Association property lines. So these smaller homes and these smaller lots have their own property lines, and then there's this other HOA, Huck and Tom's LLC, that owns the red line. You can see where that Huck and Tom roads end. If you overlay their proposal, it doesn't address how lot number, whatever it is, 7, lot number 7, right now in the new proposal, they couldn't get to their house. They couldn't get to their house without easements from other homeowners' properties to get them in there. I put some alternate designs together when it comes to the single-family homes that I handed out that I'll supply to the applicant. At a minimum, provide a buffer, face those driveways in the other direction, and give us some privacy. Some of the communities around us that recently got approval for, and let's go back to traffic. There's been 300 additional units on J.D. Miller in the past 2 years. 300 units times 2 cars. That's 600 cars coming in and out of J.D. Miller, right in that same area. And we're saying, let's just put another 300 cars going in and out. It's the math doesn't work for us here. I don't think it should work for you guys. Reduce it to single-family homes, bring the density way down, make it a really cool place that we all, as a community in a city, in a town, will say, I'm not just flooding my community around the Bayside, which is our most prized possession these days, because the coastline is getting overwhelmed and the shoreline on the Bayside is what we need to preserve. Let's not just overwhelm it with these communities. If I can see doing it more on the south side of Chat Holly in between 98, but not to the north side of Chat Holly. It really doesn't make sense. We don't need to do it, and there's not enough room there. There's just not, and if we keep doing it all the way down Chat Holly, you end up with this really horrible looking place that we're trying to preserve. So I think that's all I have. You guys have any questions for me? I would respectfully ask for another community meeting because 5 out of the 9 homeowners in Huck and Tom's never met with these people.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next. Wait till the end so other folks can have a chance, please.
Tolbert, Tolbert. I have a house on Torres Drive, 2 roads over to the west. I bought it in 2005, and in 2006 it flooded, and it went all the way up to the 2nd floor. Of course, I had flood insurance, but that doesn't include the 1st floor. So I rented out, my tenants told me the raccoons were bringing the fish upstairs to the 2nd floor to eat the fish because there was no ground for them to be on. It was totally wet, so the stairs go up, it's on pilings. So that was quite disturbing because I could get nothing for it because it just, you know, it's on the water. But I also own a house at the other end of Chat Holly. It hasn't flooded, but I want to reiterate the J.D. Miller traffic that they have. When I leave my rental house to get my rent or whatever I'm doing to it, I go down J.D. Miller Road, and there's so many work trucks on the side of the road with all the parking where there's nowhere. I don't know if they have 1.5 or 2 parking spots per apartment, but they're lined all the way down the road. So you come down to the intersection where the high school gets out, and in the afternoon, a cop has to sit there because all the high school kids are going 80 miles an hour, slinging it around that stop sign, and it's a really big hazard. It scared me when I went down there. I didn't know, school's letting out, because it is a very big danger because these kids they speed. So we got the high school, we got the Boys Scout road there, we got the dog park, and all the flooding situation. I want to note that I've been here since 1959, 66 years. My parents had the first hotel here. They started this tourism thing. We needed the TDC because in January this time of year, you could shoot a bullet from Panama City to Fort Walton and shoot nothing. Nothing. I rode my horse on the beach, and I own 11 properties here. I have bayfront where I have beautiful trees I haven't built on for 40 years because I believe in ecology and conservation, all the things that we're standing for, not greed and just develop at any cost. It's so upsetting to me what's going on, I'll probably have to move away. I'll just sell it all, make millions, and move away. That's how upsetting a local person feels with what's going on. I drove down there yesterday. I had no idea that across from my rental house would be a commercial blue building with 3-bay car garage with, I guess it's a car shop in the middle of a residential between Virgo and Taurus. So there's orange clay with what was beautiful oaks, and now it's a commercial building. I don't even know what it is. There's no sign. Mine's on the water with a beautiful dock meandering to the water. It's affordable living. I don't charge nothing what these apartments charge. But why are we building apartments and they're sitting empty, and we're gonna build 138 more on a little dog leg of a road that's already overrun? Oh, there's a spring back there that feeds all that. I was here when that was not a road. It was a orange clay back road that people took only because they knew about it. Now it's turned it. I lost my parts on Trot Halley when they paved it. Everyone lost their parts because it was such a bad, bumpy road. They needed more bridges. It was a wooden bridge when I went across it. Now, what do we have? The diverting traffic from 393. Church Street's a cluster. They're building more apartments and everything on that. When is enough enough? I was here, I'm a realtor. I was here during the moratorium of Destin in 1980. They had to stop building, and you could not give a condo away. They were in receivership, and you could not give a condominium away. They overbuilt. Then they incorporated and ruined Destin. I don't want that to happen here. I don't want to have to move away. I have some of the most beautiful property in the world here on the water, 5 acres on the water. I've been planning to build my dream home for 40 years. I'm sorry, my voice is shaking. I'm upset. But I have property in the north end. I have a 160-acre tree farm. I have a property on the bay. I have property on the beach. I have property everywhere. But it's disturbing when you can't have any privacy. Living here is like being a shut-in. When a holiday comes, you go in and shut your door because you don't want to have to fight the traffic, the noise, and the shuttle to get there. So that is from someone that was born here, raised here. My Uncle Charles owns all the Holiday Inns and all the motels in Panama City. So my parents brought tourism to this area, and now I wish they hadn't. Apologize for that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Please come to the mic.
She nailed it with the traffic on J.D. Miller. All those cars are just lined up because the townhomes can't accommodate the parking. So I don't know what they're going to do with all these townhomes that's not going to accommodate the parking. These people have work trucks. They have if you get a home with 3-4 bedrooms, townhome or whatever, you have kids that are teenagers. You have the mother, the father, the teenager, sometimes even more people in the home. Where are they going to park their cars? And then you've got all the commercial. It's just unbelievable. So that's all.
Thank you. Applicant? Feel like some time to address any of those comments, questions, concerns?
Going to be real brief, and I'll answer anything that you guys have that you might want any further clarification on. I just wanted to really point out that this is long-range planning, what we're doing here. This is not a quick thing. We've been at this since 2021. Been numerous delays on our side and the county side for numerous different reasons. And we're just trying to move forward with a conceptual plan right now. That's what we're trying to do, a conceptual plan with the units and entitlements for a vertical mixed-use development. This is not something like what I think some of the comments were talking about. This is a little bit different as a vertical mixed-use development, with the intention really of providing a place here, a sense of place with North Beach. I mean, we've talked to the developers of North Beach Social and things, and the North Beach place is what we're looking for here. So if you have any specific questions, I've taken tons of notes, but I know you guys don't want to be here all day talking through them. If you have any specific questions on technical things, I'll answer.
The general sort of points that I think the surrounding folks have made. Can you address some of those in your?
A lot of comments on stormwater, and I've said this. I can't tell you how many times I've been up here. I will assure you 100%, if not all the civil engineers does a project in South Walton County, that stormwater is going to be better than it is today. It always is. We always improve stormwater. And honestly, on Chat Holly, I know Chat Holly flooding is an issue, and I'm excited about the opportunity to try to solve that problem. We can't solve it with the infrastructure that's there today, but we can add new infrastructure to help solve that problem. You have to fund that infrastructure. You do that through tax dollars or you do it through development. And this project is doing it through development, so we will help to solve some of those. The access in the back to Huck and Tom, Melissa briefly said it on the side there, but what the intention of that was during construction, J.D. Miller West will be open just for access to those, because that road now today is not up to a standard, Huck and Tom Road. So we have to rebuild that road. We're putting utilities under it. We're putting water and sewer and electric, telecoms, things like that. We're putting sidewalks. We're making it the normal width, not the one-lane width that it is today. So as we're improving that roadway, the access only for those units will be over there, no construction traffic. So when the time comes, we'll stipulate that during the technical documents, that construction traffic does not use that. Access in the back, we're actually, the roadway we're providing in the back is solving some pretty significant issues right now. There's not clear legal access to some of those properties in the back. They have some common area lots in the front. Some of them drive through the two central properties to get to it. We're providing a road in the back that does kind of solve that, where everybody gets an access point through their common area to their lot. So we're actually improving that beyond what's there today.
So in terms of Mr. Montero's comment that what you're proposing will reduce access to lot 7, that's not accurate in your assessment?
That's correct. If you look at that master plan, there's 2 large parcels in the middle, and then there's several parcels on the east and the west of those. There are little skinny parcels in the front of those east and west parcels. That's a common area that is owned by that HOA. So this new roadway access that we have, right now, there's only one kind of end of the road that has to drive through both our client's property, as well as it probably cuts partially into the 2 big parcels in the middle. But this new roadway in the back was carefully planned to be sure that everybody gets an access off of that new roadway. And some of that will be through their common area, but they're getting clear access now where they currently don't have it today. Legal access, I should say, in terms of easement. We did on the original design, and we're still probably going to do it with this design. We had planned to take gravity sewers all the way back there to the back. I think right now they're on grinder pumps, if I recall. So we're going to improve some infrastructure back there. The water mains are going to be upgraded. The sewer mains will be provided, and the master pump station will be provided back there. That'll kind of help those lots in the back.
The proposed lots?
Those as well, yes. But the existing lots in Huck and Tom's will be able to take advantage of the new infrastructure that we bring to the back there.
You're going to stub out on the north side of Huck and Tom's?
That was the plan before. We had our, we still got to go through technical design, but our original technical design actually sunk the sewer deep enough so that they could all have gravity sewer into the new master station if they chose to do so. So
What's the water table like out there? Can that even be achievable?
Yeah, we put sewers in the water table all the time. Gravity sewers are in South Walton. Probably 90% of them are under the water table. That's the nature of our sewers here. And this lot is a little higher. That's why there's not as much floodplain on this lot as some other areas around here. The water table in this location is somewhere around elevation 3.5 to 4 usually. And the ground out here ranges between 7 and 9.5, 10, I think, on average. Let's see. We understand parking issues on J.D. Miller. We're very cognizant of that. Every townhome development that we've done since, that was another engineer project. I believe J.D. Miller was actually the first townhome project we had, and I remember years ago, it was a big sticking point for Mac to say no more one in the garage, one in the driveway. Every single townhome project we've done since then has had a minimum of 2 on the surface plus 1 in the garage. So they've all had at least 3 parking spaces. Same with this community. We also don't want to see that. That's a mess on J.D. Miller.
In terms of the HOA and any covenants, is there any consideration in terms of limiting short-term vacation rental use?
I'm not sure if we're really there in the owner in discussion on that yet. You want to?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and speak to that. So we are considering if there's a limitation, it'd be along Chet Holly, not in the back, and also a percentage of the units limitation, like no maximum of so many at any given time would be used as a short-term rental. We are considering that. We just need to look at some numbers.
For transportation also, I wanted to point out, we talked about the transit stop, but what we didn't talk about was I've had several back and forths in the past with Chance and Anna and a few others of Public Works. My vision for this transit stop is ultimately that we get a route to North Beach Social, North Beach Village, circle around to the South Walton beaches, and then back up and make a loop route. I'd love to see that happen. We've discussed that with them. I actually drew a schematic map and said, hey, we're gonna put a stop on this map and let's make this happen one day. So It's long-range planning. You know, I think that'd be a great benefit to this area since we now have the first real place on the north side. North Beach is what, you know, we're putting that on the map. And I'd love to see a loop to the South Walton beaches to North Beach.
Will that transit stop there on Chat Holly, will that also serve as a school bus stop?
Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, that's what, on every project we've done over the last several years, that we put a transit stop in, school bus is what they're being used for, or will be used for in the coming year or two as they develop out. But ultimately, they can be used for either. I mean, they're public infrastructure.
In terms of turn lanes, I know this is the conceptual plan, but it sounded like you indicated that they were warranted in your initial sort of introduction. So
Correct.
that would be identified, those lanes would be identified in the detailed plan?
Correct. Left turn lanes were warranted, I believe. Let me go back and so I'm not misspeaking there. None of them were warranted with the current conditions of when that traffic study was looked at. It was based, and I shouldn't even say current, the last count update. It's a very complicated topic to come up here and speak about, but our CMS takes snapshots in time. 2022 is the last snapshot we got. And then we attempt to take out all the committed trips when we do those snapshots from, and that CMS spreadsheet is very big and complicated. It's got every project in Walton County in it. We all coordinate, all the engineers with the Walton County engineer to try to get out trips that have been built out to take that snapshot. And then we try to continue to project on committed trips from all the developments that have been titled since. So in 2024, when this is updated, every one of those townhome projects on Chet Holly has been being built out recently. That was all in that snapshot for committed trips.
The approved projects at the time.
Correct. And the warrants are there for turn lanes based on the committed, not the trips that were there in 2024. So yes, they will be warranted for that.
Got it. In terms of the J.D. Miller access, I'm going to say something that I don't think folks in the public are going to like, but I think that access should remain open. I think it makes for a better transportation system in this area. If it's not left open, then I would like to see it with the not bollards, but as a safety or emergency entrance for fire and life safety, or exit, that is.
I tend to agree. There was another project earlier that talked about access points that was brought up. And I always go back to this example that I remember when I first moved here. Cypress Breeze subdivision had 100, I think it was 160, 190 lots, one way in and out on that road, and a manhole pipe connection failed. And they had to dig a 20-foot deep hole in the only way in and out. So they actually had to route a road through conservation land, through a wetland, to get around it for the people that live in there. So yes, connectivity is important so we can avoid those situations.
Yeah. And there's a substantial wetland ditch and all that in between the bulk of the housing and Chat Holly. I think having another point of access there is imperative.
We can discuss that when we get into technical, what's better for the community and the county. Even if it's pedestrian only, this is mixed use commercial up front. And those buildings are sort of like Gulf Place type buildings. So that's the easiest way to think about it. That's the type of commercial you would expect. When you go to Rosemary and Gulf Place and those places, you don't see Dollar Generals. That's not who goes in to the bottom floor of a vertical mixed use building. Those buildings will be there for the public that lives on J.D. Miller. So if they have a way to get over there without driving on a Chat Holly, that would be optimal, of course, for everyone.
Have you run an analysis on what sort of trip capture this layout is providing?
We have trip capture for the current connectivity that does not include J.D. Miller. So yes, there's a detailed report on internal capture for all the existing homes on Osprey, plus the existing Huck and Tom's, plus everything that's proposed.
Of course, all those are the actual capture is going to differ based on the final end use in those units, I'm assuming. But
somewhat, yeah. I'd have to go back to see what we assumed. We assumed some amount of restaurants, some amount of retail to come up with those capture. But it's also based on distance walking distance within the community. So there's some very thorough spreadsheets in there if you'd like to go through and look at them, but that's what that's for, is to look at internal capture.
I will say I've got a few concerns in terms of layout, and I think Mr. Montero's presentation speaks to some of that. I would like to see, not that I have the ability to require it, but those townhomes that are abutting the existing Huck and Tom, pulled away a little bit. It looks like there's some buffering in there. I'm hoping that that's going to be existing vegetation, but there does appear to be a dumpster situated right there. I don't like that. I know it's probably appropriate based on just the waste trucks and access and all that, but unless I'm wrong, is that a lift station, not a dumpster? Can you speak to that right there, adjacent to the townhomes on the north end?
I'm trying to get my map to load up. I walked off and left the hard copy. So, yes. Yeah, so I think that was kind of there for ease of pickup, but yeah, I mean, that's certainly something that we could modify. That's our landscape architect did the master plan. And I suppose that's where he thought was the best place for that.
I'm sure it is in terms of maneuverability, but in terms of
Sure.
being a nice neighbor, I think that could probably be moved.
The other thing was the main road in. Huck and Tom's today is the north-south road.
Right.
And as you'll notice on here, a lot of the units that we had on, we haven't shown the old plan, but we had a lot more units on that road on the original plan. We decreased the units on that particular road significantly and pulled them off into their own drive areas in a lot of locations. Just so, like for example, Building 4, if you're looking on the master plan, they have a pull-off road to get to their driveways. So we don't want those situations where people are parking on the main thoroughfare in and out.
Yep, it makes sense.
Of course, HOA documents and management here can help to be sure that cars aren't parking on those main thoroughfares. There'll be access easements and things that are also dedicated for those folks in the back, just to clear up the legal easement side of things, so that they can get through, and we'll make sure that stipulates you can't be blocking traffic through there, that sort of thing.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns from the committee?
I'm slightly concerned, or not concerned, but curious about phasing plans. Do you guys have any information on what you're going to do there?
There is a phasing plan in there. The traffic report was based on those 3 phases as well.
Is phase 1 the commercial component?
You have that in front of you? I don't believe so, but let me double check here. Construction phasing. So master plan sheet 9 of 12. Phase 1 is the eastern, that was what we had originally planned with the
road. So the
No,
phase
no,
1
this is
includes
phase-
Huck and, huh?
This is phase 1. The eastern portion on Osprey. That's phase 1, which includes the new master lift station, and cross connectivity to Osprey to start coming in there for construction traffic and things. So phase 1 would not really affect the Huck and Tom Road.
Phase
is
2
when it starts.
includes Huck and Tom Road and the development that is west of Huck and Tom's, and then between and north or south of that residential development. And then phase 3 is the central portion, which is the remaining commercial and park, and then one little building for some townhomes and then the stormwater, of course, it stays there.
So phase 1 is vertical mixed use plus 3 townhomes. Phase 2 is the roadway rebuild with a lot of infrastructure, the amenity area for the townhome area, And then phase 3 will be the second vertical mixed-use structure.
I know there was previous concern in the community about the benefit being withheld beyond the first phase, so that might be something to consider.
So phase 1 is the first public park, as well as the commercial sorts of things. Yeah, actually, every phase of this has a public benefit in it, so it's kind of spread out.
All right. Anything else for the applicant?
Wondering if we could get an updated traffic study, being that that one's 3 years old.
Well, I think what Curtis has indicated is that updated version in 24 included all of the approved developments at that time, as well as some additional forecasting. Is that accurate?
It's got every trip that's forecasted for every development that had been approved or had even been submitted as of July of that year of 24. So
I would just add, just for everybody's benefit, so it is in the InterGov system, the updated traffic report. It's there. I'm not sure how it's where it is in that. Due to that system, it's a little bit awkward sometimes. In addition to that, this is a conceptual PUD, and while you will have that information, each phase will have a updated traffic report as necessary to make sure that we are meeting all those other requirements. So I just want to make sure that's clear. We were just discussing that. Thank you.
Right. I do think it's important that we keep the idea that this is a conceptual PUD in mind. We're not going to get all the detail that we would, with the typical review. All right. Thank you, Curtis. Melissa, anything else to add? Okay.
Yeah, hello, I'm David Bradford. I own the apartments, the southern there, and also own a house in Huckintoms. The traffic, obviously, everybody knows how big an issue, and that's just getting worse and worse and worse. So I'm 100% pro-development. I want everybody to understand that. I'm a developer myself in several different spots, but it seems in Walton County we get a little bit ahead of ourselves in terms of density, trying to put 6 pounds of stuff in a 4-pound sack. You end up with parking issues like is on J.D. Miller now. If y'all had cut that particular development back 20%, you wouldn't be parking on the road or the easements. We tow cars in front of the apartments because we don't want them tearing up the grass. We also have people that poach on the pool and poach on everything else, but this all gets back to density and being smart about development, in my opinion. And the best time to be smart is in the planning stage and the conceptual stage. That's when, nobody can be against something on Huck and Tom's if it's nice and there's plenty of room. That intersection at J.D. Miller, I would recommend that we look at a roundabout. There's too much traffic coming from too short a distance toward that intersection. And about the only way you're going to solve it is a roundabout, and that'll solve the Huck and Tom's problem. That'll solve J.D. Miller and everybody else. The traffic stacks there, and it's getting worse daily. And any development in the future, and there's going to be a lot more than this project too. I think we need to build some infrastructure right there. This seems to be one of the most popular spots in the county for all kinds of reasons. It's beautiful there. But I just wanted to add my 2 cents, and I'd be glad to support anything. We basically developed 40% of what we bought there at the apartments, and the rest of it is parking. And it was just, we don't have people parking anywhere but in there, and it's 100% full. So when you plan properly, you don't have these problems. Thank you.
Thank you. But I will say I'm not sure if we've got the right of way there at that intersection for a full roundabout, but I don't disagree. That would probably be an interesting solution option there.
I'm sure the county's got condemnation authority. They can get all the right of way they want.
Right.
I'm assuming that.
Yeah, they've got their statutorily, available option for something like that, but I don't foresee there being a political will to do that either.
Okay.
So,
And I get that. I mean, I get that. It's all works together, but y'all have a critical function here
Yes, sir.
in doing what you can do with the constraints that you have.
That's right.
And adding more traffic obviously is a whole another set of fish, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
And just in line with that sort of thinking, I mean, we've got other things to consider, right? Like our property rights element in the comp plan.
Right.
The fact that we can't deny development that's entitled based on infrastructure shortcomings that we're responsible for, right? So we can't impact a property owner's rights because we haven't provided the necessary infrastructure.
Couldn't agree more. And Walton County's done a great job on that, everything except roads.
Right.
You know, it's hard to stay
Right.
ahead of the roads. You know, you basically build a path where people are walking. That's kind of how, and that's not necessarily confined to here. It's most every place I've developed. So
Sure.
it's just the way it works.
It is something that's endemic, you know, if we had planners with the foresight to
Right.
see the development we've had in the last 10 years, 30 years ago, we'd have all the necessary infrastructure in place now, but that's not the way it worked out.
I
So
hear
we're
you.
playing catch up in a lot of ways, and our hands are tied, you know, in a lot of ways as well. So we've got a lot to juggle and deal with and find a balance here. Unfortunately, it never lands in a place where it makes everyone happy. It never does.
I've said for years, the P&Z is the worst job in the whole world because you've got competing interest always and you got money. And when you have those three things, but common sense, obviously, when you get to conceptual drawings, takes care of a lot of the problems that end up happening.
Sure, and believe me, if the code said, use your common sense here, a lot fewer developments would be approved.
Mhm.
But that's not the case, right? So we have a set of standards that we have to abide by and review in accordance with. And that's just the way that it goes legally speaking, right? So I absolutely appreciate your comments. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate y'all.
I'm going to add a couple other things, and if y'all want to come up and address some of my thoughts afterward, please do so, to the applicant, that is. In terms of public benefit, this is it for the folks in the room here. The code doesn't define what a public benefit is, right? So when we look at something, and they say, yeah, we're providing a benefit here, there's a couple things. There's more than one way to look at it. A physical benefit is one thing, but there's additional benefit in terms of tax benefit, in terms of those improvements to stormwater. You know, there's a lot of ways that you could review that, but because it's not defined in the LDC, I can't sit here, the committee can't sit here and say, this isn't a public benefit. That's up to the Board of County Commissioners to determine if it is or not. Understand that. What they've presented thus far, I think probably meets that standard. Despite what some of y'all think, I think it probably satisfies it, but ultimately that's not my decision to make. So we will not be considering that much further here. Again, statutorily, we are limited in what we can do here in terms of denying a project based on the lack of infrastructure that should have been part of the process 30 years ago. Unfortunately, the state has done a good job in limiting our ability to deny projects based on that alone. Again, private property rights. I know some of y'all folks have indicated that this should be left natural and those sort of things. You know, if you don't own the property, unfortunately, you can't make those decisions, right? I would love to see this property left in a preservation state or conserved, but that's not the case. I don't own the property, so I can't make those decisions. I'm glad to see that turn lanes are warranted in terms of the detailed or technical side of this PUD, and I hope that they're installed if this is approved ultimately. Again, I would hope that there's some additional consideration made with that northern layout and those townhomes. I feel like this site is laid out in a way to reduce as much impact to the floodplain and wetlands as possible. And I feel like moving it around some would result in less density and or more impacts to those sensitive areas. But I hope that there is some additional consideration up there, just in terms of use, internal and external for that existing development. When this application was resubmitted previously, I think Mac and/or I may have looked at what would be applicable moving forward, what we would honor in terms of application documents. I don't believe that an additional community meeting was required based on the fact that there was so many previously. However, and I'm not going to require it, but I'm going to strongly suggest that you do hold another one to address, or potentially address, some of the concerns, in particular because of the change of ownership. It sounds like about 50% of those owners have shifted since that last community meeting. I think it would just be a good effort and a good neighborly thing to do. Again, I'm not going to require it. It is not required. If you do decide to do it, I'm not going to tell you how to notify the folks. I would trust that you would do that in a meaningful way. That's really all I have to add. Y'all have anything? All right. Tim, we got a lot of comments. Looks like there's maybe some more work to do, but what's your recommended motion here?
Well, because it's a conceptual PUD and that doesn't require a lot of additional information, they obviously have to clean up what's going on now. But because it is a conceptual, I don't see anything to hold it up at this point unless the TRC does. So my recommendation would be to conditionally approve it and move it forward to the Planning Commission once all outstanding comments have been resolved.
Thank you, Tim. All right, committee, we have a recommended motion. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, discussion?
They are gonna have a community meeting. It's not required, but you want.
I would like to see it as a gesture of goodwill for the folks that have expressed a concern of not being involved initially. But again, when this application came back in, there was a conversation that occurred, and we determined that honoring the existing community meetings was appropriate at the time. Yeah, I think having another one would be, again, a gesture of goodwill, and I would encourage the owner and applicants to do so, but I'm not going to require it. Now, I say that, but hey, if you want to make that part of your motion and everybody else out here agrees to it, that is the committee's, that's the, it's in your purview. It's a lot. I will say that based on previous iterations, I do like this layout better, while I do have some concerns. I think it is a better product than what was initially proposed some time ago.
Does meet the LDC and comp plan?
According to the staff report, we're still shy of that.
That statement indicates that once all the comments are addressed, then it meets the code. It only says no right now because there's outstanding comments that haven't been addressed to date.
Thanks, Tim.
But once those are, then we would consider it to be consistent with the comp plan and land development code.
Know that, thank you.
And additionally, prior to the board's approval, those deviations, if made part of the plan, would not be in keeping with the code until the board says yes, or gives final approval, adopts the ordinance. So, Andrea, what are your thoughts?
I'm half inclined to say I'd like to see a cleaner report regarding the area and all of the fundamentals?
From the applicant,
Yes.
cleaner,
I mean,
or a cleaner staff report.
That's my thought. Not necessarily a staff report, but because there's ambiguities in the areas and the survey says one thing and reports say others, I'd
Right.
like it to be a clear path for the community.
Yeah, there does appear to be quite a bit of inconsistency in there. And I get it, when you've got a handful of folks working on the same thing, things get a little muddied up.
Could we suggest, if you don't mind, could we suggest that we could go to the very next TRC meeting, resubmit for that for your review? Because the issue is cleaning up some documentation versus redesigning. Or an entire redesign, I should say. And in that time, have a community meeting, or at least around that same time, but attempt anyway to be able to move forward with Planning Commission in March. I know that sounds like a crunch in time, but we would like to be able to meet with them, go over the documents that we have, discuss it with them, and still be able to we could have a TRC the 1st of March. You know, we just need to submit within a couple of days. It'd still be available for review. And then move on and work towards moving to Planning Commission in March if possible.
The
I'm not sure
staff
that's
report
enough
for
time.
that would be due next Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm not.
So the
I'm not
next
sure
meeting
there's
is
time.
March 4th. The
Just
staff
as a
report
reminder,
would-
the changes that you have are not substantial to the review, the conceptual, other than we have some discrepancy in numbering and for most of the comments. I don't even think there's a significant substantial comment for staff review. It's mostly that on this page it says this, on that it doesn't, and that is a discrepancy, unfortunately, that came from first review, second review, and third review prior to our redesigning the entire site.
So in terms of a community meeting, assuming that would be done with some deliberate intention to seek to appease some of those concerns.
We
How
would like
would-
to discuss it with them and determine what things that could be done, but again, it's a conceptual plan. The changes that, some of the, I haven't seen what they turned in as an exhibit, by the way, so some of those changes might not be so significant that it would adversely affect everything, and some of them might. So we would like to just make sure that we are taking that into, please take that into consideration. I'm gonna get that.
Yes, that's what I was trying to, thank you.
I guess I'd like to make a motion to continue to the next TRC pending community meeting and
I'm not sure it can happen that quickly. I would suggest you go to the second meeting in March, which would be 18th, March 18th.
continue till March 18th.
So, and ma'am, please understand that while we would like to see everyone here that can be here, we can't just base our decision or our date. So, and again, right, there's limited time and resources and all the things that get tied into these meetings that we need to consider here. I mean, the alternative would be to have it, I'm not gonna have you all continue to speak from the audience. If you have something to say, I'll give you some time if you want to make another comment.
Again, a simple request to have the next TRC following the date of the 18th. So anything after that, because we'd be okay with the early one, but it doesn't seem like the county can make that happen. Spring break is that week, so almost every one of the community is either going to be out of town because they're taking kids places, and because we try to get out of here. So the one after that, that's all we're requesting. We really want to meet with these developers. I think we're reasonable people. We want to work with them. We're not saying don't build there. We're just saying try to build along with us because we've made some major investments on Bayfront property. So that's all we ask.
All right, thank you,
Be
sir.
April 1st. Next one.
So, we do also have some considerations in terms of 10, yes, sir.
Would
Hi.
you allow, this is the owner of the property, would you allow him to speak?
Absolutely, come on up, sir. Morning.
Leo Wong, I'm a developer for this property. And as you know, you've seen the original design, which is not the most pleasing. We spent about 2 to 3 years remodifying. Went through several community meetings and we put everybody's comments together and smoothed out the plan. I'm nervous if we make significant changes to the current design, 6, 8 months later, new people move in. We're back to this thing kicking the can down the road. And don't get me wrong, we tried our best. If you saw the original to today's design, it is one of the best designs, I feel like, in my eyes, in that area. And, you know, and I get the traffic, I get all that. But I've been a property owner, or my family has, since the 1980s. I've seen how South Walton has grown. I don't want to turn back the clock to back then where, you know, grocery stores, you would either have to go to Panama City or Destin. Progress is a good thing, but progress also has negatives too, right? Traffic and all that. And that's something that the county eventually will have to figure out. But we did try our best to bring a real nice product to this area. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you know, in terms of kicking this can down the road, if you will, continuing it and adding some additional public comment, I think that honors the work that's been put into this thus far. And I think it'll help to ensure that there is the best product that we can build, or see built on this site. I am respectful of the public's wishes. Please understand, again, that our state legislators have tied our hands in many ways when it comes to application timelines. And our review times are mandated. And if we exceed those, then there's repercussions for the county. So we have to be mindful of that. So we can't keep just dragging this thing out in those terms. So I would like to see that this thing is heard at April 1. I think that gives everybody enough time. And if we have a clean application at that time, we will get you on the planning commission that month, and then we'll get you on the ALJ and the BCC the following. And that'll be a final decision in May, pending any other outstanding or extenuating circumstances. And if I said approval, I meant review.
I know. I knew what you meant. I also want to say too, first of all, thank you for the site plan. I'm going to talk to the developer and the engineer about that. In addition to that, I passed out a notepad to get them to give us their information. For anybody that is, whatever date we can set for the community meeting, if it's more convenient to do it by video and have a site plan show up and bring notes, we do them both, either in person or video, and sometimes both. So I just want to make sure that's out there, that anybody that wants to attend can attend. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion to continue this to April 1. Was it seconded? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. We will hear this project again April 1. Thank you all for your comments and participation. Thank you, Mr. Wong, for your patience and understanding. Moving on to the next one. We're item 10, Gulf of America Shores. We'll go ahead and let folks kind of mosey out for a few minutes here.
All right, I think we're ready.
I think so.
All right. Oh, it is now. All right. Okay, sorry about that. This is item number 10. It's Gulf of America Shores. It's a request to approve by development order. It's project number MIN 25-000138. This is a minor development order application, which is now being submitted by Shiloh Construction on behalf of John Foy, requesting to develop a 6-lot single-family residential subdivision and associated infrastructure on 1.25 plus or minus acres. It has a future land use of residential and a zoning district of neighborhood infill. The property is located in District 4 at 56 Payne Street and can be identified by the parcel number in your staff report. Would you please enter the staff report into the record?
So entered.
Also, I did hand out a number of public comments we received as of yesterday and the uploaded site plan. Would you please enter those as well?
So entered.
So that site plan that you have in front of you, a lot of the comments, actually all of the comments on this staff report are not reflective of that new site plan. So we still have some outstanding items, but I wanted to bring that because it does appear to address a lot of the planning comments. They provided the parking typical and updated compatibility analysis, but I still have a number of concerns and questions regarding that. But let me go over the other reviewer comments first. So I know Andrea has been working diligently on the stormwater review, so I don't know where we stand at that point. I'll have to refer to the applicant and Andrea. I know it is not complete. We're still working on that. Brad has not reviewed the landscape plan, so they did submit a landscape plan. We're still waiting for a wall detail, which they're proposing along the eastern property line to reduce that landscape buffer. As well, we are still waiting for a new survey with benefit of title and the total acreage of the site. And as far as fire and GIS, I believe they have reviewed the latest resubmittal, and I don't think we have anything outstanding there. But as far as planning, some of the bigger items is the parking typical, and that's what's submitted as part of this new site plan. So they are proposing parking in the rear of the property, which currently that's where the wall is going to be, in addition to pools in the backyard. And we also have 7.5-foot side setbacks. So I just want to bring that to your attention. I'm not sure how that's going to function. And then also the other item for planning is just a compatibility analysis. So we need a more comprehensive analysis, and that's going to address some of the new items, and that's the parking layout and the mass of the buildings. And it also mentioned there were no buffering in the compatibility analysis, and there are 2 sides that will be buffered. So as far as the public comments, a lot of the concern were the height of the buildings. I think they were under the assumption they would be 4-story buildings. They will be 3 stories, and so I did provide an elevation sheet in your staff report, what appears to be what they're proposing. So unless you have questions for me, I'll turn it over.
So the access will be off Payne Street?
Correct.
Is that correct?
And I know originally there were some concerns with the turnaround for fire specifically. It appears he has, they have remedied that. I haven't seen the response from Sammy and Intergov, but the applicant has been coordinating with him, so he may have to speak to that turnaround if that was sufficient. It is pretty tight, so.
Yep, it is. I don't understand how that east-west oriented space in the back is going to work. I think while is this a short-term vacation rental?
It is. They will be short-term rentals.
I think it's, people are just gonna park in the side setbacks, what's gonna happen.
Well, it looks like on this site plan, they've got the building footprint on one side of each lot at 9 feet. However, unless we are proposing a 9-foot setback, I don't think that's gonna stay that way. I mean, there's potential for the building to exceed that 9 foot unless we're making a 9-foot setback. So in other words, there would be no way to get to the rear of the building with a vehicle.
If it decreases below 9 foot, you mean?
Correct.
What's the surrounding development pattern like?
There's condos to the south, which are 3-story. The property to the east, that's RV park. And then west is another subdivision, comparable density. They're also 3 stories. And then the property to the directly north, 1 vacant lot, and then the other lot is owned by the same owner. So it is also a short-term rental, and I think they're trying to mirror what they've done on that property.
What are the proposed square footages of the house?
5,400.
Thank you.
May I get some clarification? The 5,400, is that the developable area or the actual footprint of the house?
That's actually the heated and cooled square footage so that we could do the car counts properly for each one, because when we did the T turnaround to satisfy Sammy, we had to shrink that house because I couldn't fit 6 cars anymore. So that square footage had to shrink to accommodate the new car count.
5,400 includes 3 levels.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Was there a buyout request for the western sidewalk?
Yes, they are proposing to do a buyout.
Okay, anything else to add, Rosie?
Not at this point.
Okay, I know that you were already up, but you want to come up and, thank you.
Jason Frazier, F-R-A-S like Sam, U-R-E.
Morning, afternoon now.
Been a long one. So, yeah, the primary development is six short-term vacation rentals. They, got properties to the northwest, Ohana, that, Blue Ohana did. That's similar. We got properties directly to the west that are similar. Property directly to the north is the exact house that we intend to build on these 6 lots also. So there will be some uniformity kind of across the street. I did originally recommend to staff that we, instead of doing the buyout, that we try to run a sidewalk along Payne Street. No one else has one yet, but you guys do have that easement there. Like, there's no foot traffic possibility along Payne Street to get to, the beach access further down. So we would be interested in doing that, but it also currently would just dead end into nothing because of what's around it. But I mean, that's an option instead of the buyout if you would prefer, just to kind of get that started.
I mean, a lot of times, sidewalks are, something you gotta kind of do that with, and the next guy fills in the blank and so on. But ultimately, I think planning will defer to.
I did speak with the engineering director, and he was amenable to that, and I can share the Driftwood Road plans with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're willing to do, anything to help with, especially the foot traffic in that neighborhood, because obviously with what Blue Ohana did, the neighborhood behind us, everything's sort of stacking up in there. So I understand.
So are there no garages proposed with these units?
No. Everything is parking in the front and rear setback per the code.
And again, I'm no engineer, So I'm not attempting to step on anybody's toes here, but it seems like if we look at this site a little bit differently, add garages, potentially, instead of providing room for each individual unit to have an amenity, provide a community amenity, move that road up or to the east a little bit, provide that parking that would be in the rear in the garage.
It loses the ability for the property owner to put pools on the property.
Sure, but if there is, I mean, if these are all designed to be, you know, transient residential, I don't know. I've been to developments like this. I've gone and stayed in short-term vacation rental communities, and there's typically a community pool. In my experience, I'm not saying at the high-end ones that these probably will be, but it would just make sense. To me, it would free up some space on the site and provide a little bit more flexibility in terms of parking and those sort of things. But again, you know, I'm not a design professional, so this is just a layman's kind of observation. So, yeah. Anything else to add?
No, I mean, this is our third trip in front of you guys. We've, I think, like Rosanna pointed out, I know Andrew's been working real hard in the back to kind of shore up all of our stormwater stuff. I'm not sure why Brad hadn't commented on the environmental. I know that particular changes that he's been requesting have been uploaded for quite a while at this point.
Yeah, he's a busy guy.
I know.
We'll
I was texting him the other day. I know he's busy.
We'll try to give him a little nudge internally as well.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. But in our opinion, I went through and I did provide some updated responses to the staff 2018 or the previous comments. And when I went through the review, it looked to me like we had captured all the previous staff comments. The missing sheets already have been uploaded. The approval from South Walton Fire, Matt's GIS approval for the street name. We did upload the updated compatibility analysis. So everything, in my opinion, and as I went through each line item, has been addressed.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody have any questions, direct?
Any questions for applicant? No? All right. We'll go ahead and open this up for any technical questions, comments, or concerns from the audience. Yes, please come up.
My name's Linda Frakes. It's Frakes.
Morning.
And I live, is it still morning? It seems like
Afternoon.
midnight.
One of those, yeah. One of those.
I am the president of the HOA and live in Destin Village RV Resort, which sits directly to the north of this proposed development.
Okay.
And you should have minimally 13 letters from people in our development and in that area about our concerns, and they're primarily around our reasonable ability to have quiet enjoyment in our neighborhood. We are a very high-end RV park. I know people hear RV park and they think, oh my God, but we have lots in there that sell for $300,000 for a 50 by 20 cement pad. And we cater to multi-million-dollar Class A RVs. So we've been there for a long time. 2005 is when the development was built. And there used to be a few other RV parks down on that little dead end, and developers have bought almost all of them out. So over the last probably 5 or 6 years, we've had 20 plus monster houses built as you come off of Driftwood onto this dead end Payne Street. And we've never spoken against any of them before. They've all been as good a neighbors as you can be, and we know they have their desires to, make good on their investments, but we are just completely surrounded now. We can't see the sun come up or the sun go down, and this will block any access. We have to even having a Gulf breeze now. The concerns that we have really are connectivity. It's a dead-end street. This Payne Street, and this property was owned by the original Payne family, who the last of them passed away, and I guess that's how they got the property. But $2 million was paid for a quarter, an acre and a quarter. And it's already been cleared, and so there's been some construction, not construction, but work traffic on that road. But Payne Street used to be a dirt road, and now it is, I loosely say, a paved road, but it's 16 feet wide, and there's no center line. We only got a center line on Driftwood a couple of years ago, so people think, you know, when they stay there, we can't even get out of our houses in the summer months. But we have big concerns about safety and access. If you're bringing a $2 million Class A motorhome and trying to get into our park or the one that's directly south of us, there's 16 feet of road there, and they have to swing out. We already have trouble getting them in, but you add these houses that are going to have theoretically 5 spaces for each house, which means only 5 cars for a potentially 9-bedroom house. You know, it's not only 5 cars. It's never only 5 cars. So what we found, and with the development that's going on now with the parking that the county's building on Driftwood, people are just coming up to our street and parking alongside the street. So we've already had problems with that where we can't get an RV in. You know, somebody's paid $1,200 for a week and we can't get them into the spot because there's a car parked and we got to find the person who owns the car and all that kind of stuff. Very concerned about the access and the connectivity issue because a couple of years ago, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, we had a fire in our park and a tank exploded. It wasn't a tank, I don't know what happened, but fire and EMS and everybody that was trying to get in there blocked Driftwood all the way back up to 98 because they're small roads. Driftwood is a small road. Payne Street's impossible to get on. And, you know, the whole place was shut down for a day because they couldn't get in. They couldn't turn the trucks around. Fire was parking on Driftwood because they couldn't get in. I couldn't get back to my house, you know. So big concern about how that's going to work and safety issues. We have probably half RV lots that are rentals or people live on them, and half are cottages that are 500 square feet or less. And they're very close to each other. So this fire that we had a couple of years ago spread, as they say, like wildfire because we're close to each other. So, you know, time, like it always is going to be of the essence if there's ever that kind of an issue and they can't get in there. So, and the fire trucks had to back out off of Payne to get back on Driftwood when it was all over. So it was just a giant mess. And I guess I would say, to some degree, this looks more like a commercial development to me, frankly. I mean, if it's short-term rentals, it's not like they're putting homes in there where we're going to have neighbors and it's going to be part of a neighborhood infrastructure. So I don't know. I guess I just would like to throw that out there. This seems more like a commercial development to me. But I guess the other issue for us is precedent. So yes, this same individual owns this house that is adjacent to our property, and it's a 5,200 square foot house. There's never only 5 or 6 cars there, so they're always out on the street. They have a pool in the back, which abuts our property, and the parties that happen there in the summer are ridiculous. I mean, and it happens everywhere, I guess, but now we see potentially we're going to multiply that times 6. It's our worst nightmare. They parties in the back in the pool. Police are called sometimes multiple times a week when there's somebody in the house, and you know they're smoking weed in the backyard in the pool, and that's permeating through our park. And there's music, and it's, you know, actually have set up tents in the street because the party's too big, I guess, and so they have set up tents in the street blocking all access to getting on Payne Street because they're setting up food and whatever. So, you know, that could just be an individual restricting renters more, but it's a problem. And we had one situation last summer, I should say, where the person that actually abuts the pool of this existing home, it was just horrible. They were sleeping with the earplugs, and they called the police multiple times. I think we called the police out 4 or 5 times that night. And finally, they got things calmed down. But the people that were renting knew that it was one of us that had complained, and that owner came out the next morning, and both of his driver's side tires were slit. So it's just bad news when you get that many short-term rentals with that many people in one house for a week who have they got no dog in the fight because they don't live there, they don't own it. And, you know, I think I bought here years ago. I've been coming here since the 80s, and I moved here from California because I like the old beach town feel. And I know 30A is the popular place to be these days, but there's something special about Miramar Beach, I think, and you can, you know, go to the biggest beach access on the Emerald Coast is Pompano Joe's, and we're a block in from Pompano Joe's. So you can actually see the water when you're driving down the road, and there's just something special about the community there. And we have done our best to work with other developers that have come in, but the precedent that's set with this same owner that already has a house there that's caused us nothing but grief since they moved or they built that. And now to have 6 5,100 square foot houses on an acre and a quarter, it blows my mind. And we were not confused that those were supposed to be 4-story homes. That was stated in previous paperwork. So 3-story, fine. It doesn't make any difference to me. But I just think this is all that's wrong with development on the scenic corridor. It's just, there's going to be nothing left. And the only reason we haven't been bought out yet is that we are individually deeded lots. So developers tend to stay away from you because then they have to cut 27 deals with 27 people. So, and you know, eventually it's going to happen and we're all going to have to move, but I hope that's not now. So I guess that's it. I just think it should be important to the county to maintain neighborhoods like ours, and this one's evaporating very quickly.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yep.
Anyone else? Rosanna, do you have a recommendation?
I know we've been here 3 or 4 at least times. It is a lot cleaner application. We've got a little bit more information. There's still some details we need to work out, but I feel like they've come a long way. And I understand that, you know, as part of this, they're still going to have to do this, you know, short-term rental certification and follow all those guidelines. So with that being said, staff would conditionally like to approve this once all these outstanding items have been addressed, and approve contingent on the director's approval.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
I'm going to go with Rosanna's recommendation.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. This development is conditionally approved to move forward pending successful address of all outstanding comments. Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. Last item, Rosestar Subdivision.
Okay, last item, Rosestar Subdivision. This is a request to approve by development order, project number MIN 25000143. This is a minor development order application submitted by W Development, Inc. on behalf of Rosestar 2 LLC, requesting to subdivide 4.53 acres of the 14.8 acre parent parcel into 4 residential lots. The parcel contains 2 future land use designations of residential and mixed use, and 2 zoning districts of residential preservation and small neighborhood. The property's in District 5, east of Highway 331 South, north of Doodles Forest Road, and adjacent to Bay Magnolia Lane, and can be identified by the parcel number in your staff report. May I enter the staff report into the record?
So entered.
So a little bit of context and background on this project. You will notice in the staff report that there is a lot of pending information, and that is because when I started my review of this project, let's just say I was starting from scratch, and by the time I found out that there is quite a bit of history on this parcel, the staff report was due to be uploaded. Hence, a lot of the pending comments or notes in the staff report. That being said, this project is a part of phase 3 of a planned unit development for sanctuary at 331 Apartments, formerly known as Walton Apartment PUD, formerly known as Point Washington PUD. I'm still trying to get all of that, I guess, the details straightened out and clear in the staff report. We are missing technical reviews from South Walton Fire District. There are a number of outstanding comments. But as of right now, I think one of the glaring questions from myself and other reviewers is the density. My understanding is that from the past PUD project, Sanctuary at 331 Apartments, there was a distribution of the remaining density, which I believe was 8 units per acre, that was approved under that PUD that this applicant is trying to maximize through the subdivision of this 14 acres. So I want to give the applicant an opportunity on the record to clearly explain that to us, and making sure that is reflected in some type of updated maps that show us all of the parcels that are a part of this PUD. So that way we can have some clean record keeping about this moving forward. There were some other concerns about deeds, legal descriptions, which parcel was this particular parcel, the 14 acre split off at some point. There's just a lot of unanswered questions, and maybe that will come with additional research from the previously approved PUD. But those are some of the primary concerns that I have right now that I need clarity on from a technical review perspective.
Were you able to locate the previous approval for the PUD?
Yes, I was.
Did that documentation, that site layout, did it provide for density on this particular parcel?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Do we know how much?
I believe it's 8 units per acre. And the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe that under the PUD, it would still allow for the distribution of this density and the subdivision of this lot, despite the underlying zoning being residential preservation, which, as we know in the code, we are not allowed to split or subdivide residential preservation zoned lots.
So if this parcel was part of the PUD and there was an approved master plan, PUD document that allowed for density on the site, then that is an entitlement that they are still available to achieve, regardless of the density currently.
Okay.
When was that original PUD approved, do we know?
The latest document that I have here is a MAJ 20000014. So 2020
Okay.
are the latest documents that I have.
And in terms of drawdown across the entirety of the site, do we know how much density is still available?
Maybe.
Applicant question?
And that's where I need to do additional research. There was a lot of documentation associated with that major development order number that I just referenced.
Sure.
That I was not able to dive into prior to getting this to the board meeting today. But it sounds like, from what I recall, there was a density breakdown chart available. From what I recall, there were 2 units of density available at the end of that. But I'm not sure if that applied to only this 14 acres or a larger part of the parcel. I'm just not sure at this time.
Okay.
But maybe the applicant can provide some clarity on that.
Yeah, we'll ask him. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope.
All right. Any questions for staff? All right. Thank you, Ayanna.
Good afternoon, David Campbell, Civil Engineering, representing Rosestar. And I must admit, I'm a little new to this project as well. I'm not the original engineer record on the PUD. But from looking at documents, Phase 3 of this PUD was approved by the county, and I don't know what date, okay? And that was approved on this portion of the property that we're going to be subdividing, the 14 acres. So the county approved that, but what happened was the Corps of Engineers wouldn't allow them to shift their conservation easement. So that project went away, but the density never did. So there's, I don't know, 100 units of density at least, on this project because of the last, I guess, Phase 3 of the apartments, the sanctuary apartments, couldn't be built because of the Corps of Engineers.
So is there a conservation easement on this subject site currently?
There is, but not where we're proposing to subdivide it.
Does it align with the wetlands on site, or it looks like there's proposed impacts to the wetlands on lots at least 2 and...
No proposed.
No?
None. That green buffer, that's the wetland buffer.
Right. I just see the lot lines that are extending beyond that.
That's right.
So
they'll be included in the lot, but you can't do anything with it. You can enjoy it. You can't build on it. You can't clear it.
So if you can't do anything with it, why not leave it off the lot?
I'm not the owner. I'll have to ask him to see what his intentions were.
My concern is that if it's not held in common area,
right?
The next user, the end user, 5 users from now, may go out there and just do whatever they feel like they want to. And if they don't see that their property line ends at that wetland line or buffer line for that matter, that could be an additional challenge for them that would result in code compliance issues and fines and all these things that nobody wants to deal with. So that's my only concern there.
Sure, and I think we could address that as a deed restriction.
I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could. I believe in my heart of hearts that it would be more appropriate just to put it in common area. But I'll leave that up to the owner in that respect, in keeping with the code.
There may be some opportunity there to put an elevated dock down to the water's edge, so you could permit a dock through there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you could enjoy the water.
It would probably not be a bad idea to provide that amenity, community, open space, common area, and associated dock feature. But again, I'm not designing your site, so that's, as long as you're meeting the code, then y'all can do what you like there. So I just think it just in terms of future end user, we just are, you have no idea how many issues arise from this sort of layout on a daily basis. Literally every day, someone is encroaching into a buffer somewhere and getting code called, and then we've just got to deal with this issue. And it's just, it's taxing on staff, it's taxing on the owner. And if it can be avoided in the design of the development, it's just so much more appreciated when it's done that way. But I get it. Bigger lots, there's a financial incentive and motivation in there that I'm not going to detract from. I get that. That being said, is there anything else you want to add? I'm not sure if I cut you off or not. I don't remember.
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, we read through the staff reports. We really don't have a problem with any of it. I think we can take care of that in short order, but what we will want to do is get with Ayanna and make sure that that we label our plans according to the PUD densities and that type of thing. We want to coordinate there.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an essential path forward, is figuring out exactly what information we need to see reflected in this application as it relates to that previous approval. So.
We could do that with a table, essentially saying this is the density that is currently associated with this property. This is the density that we're proposing. This is what's left over.
Yeah, no, that seems like the right way to approach it.
Sure.
Stephen,
Yes.
I do have something I want to add. I did pull up the sanctuary PUD density chart from December 7th, 2021. I recommend that the applicant probably provide us with an updated chart, but it does state here what the density is for, so the total units approved by the original DO, which was 374 units, 264 units built in phase 1, then there were 110 units remaining after phase 1. In phase 2 is not on there. Phase 3, it does say 99 units were available for development, which is the phase that we're in under this particular project. There were 97 units requested for development and 2 units of available density remain. It looks like there's also information about 95 units that were remaining after wetland impact. 4 units were added back to density due to allowable infrastructure only impacts in wetlands. So maybe that gives us a little bit more clarity as to the distribution of the remaining density across these 4 lots. But if you can provide an updated PUD density chart for the record, that would be awesome.
Yep, I agree. Thank you, Ayanna. And thank you for agreeing to do that. I think that's the right thing to do there. Any other questions, comments, concerns from the committee?
I'm curious about refuge pickup, garbage truck access. Obviously, the fire department's going to have to sign off on that for safety.
Yeah. So we're going to address your issues with the turnaround. Yeah.
And then as far as stormwater, generally we require master stormwater.
Going to do that too.
Okay, so those 2 things have not occurred. We didn't design a master stormwater plan as part of this original submittal?
No, what I designed was each individual lot had stormwater and they were required for their own maintenance.
Okay.
But the way, it'll slightly change the layout of those retention ponds, but, unfortunately, the minimum standards of your code does not really allow to do less development like we wanted to do. This is really a beautiful property. There's currently a house that's at the end of our development. It's a dead end. They have access. It's a rustic looking area. It's beautiful. We wanted to simply go in there and put 4 lots and leave everything as natural as we could, but your minimum requirements won't allow that.
Yeah, no, I understand, and I appreciate the comment. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and ask the public if anyone has any technical questions, comments, or concerns. Thank you, sir. We'll hear from the public.
Good morning, but it's good afternoon. My name is Chris Sennett. I'm actually the owner of the very last house, and I own a lot beyond that. Happy to hear on a positive note that we're not talking about 160 apartments that were supposed to be part of this project. I think it's refreshing to hear that we're talking about single lots at this point. And my first concern today is I just happened to get home last night and happened to see the sign. So, and I know there's no requirement to send notifications to the current owners, and there's four other owners currently that own, adjacent to this property. But virtually nobody was notified, which I get it. It's not a requirement at this point. But a sign appeared literally adjacent to my property. So what I'm saying is, since I'm the last property out there, nobody had a chance to see it. In fact, I called some of the other owners. They were totally unaware that this was going on, this meeting was taking place today. So I'm here kind of a reconnaissance mission, if you will, just to learn about this project, because nobody's heard anything. Secondly, there's a lot of history going back to this parcel. And not to infer anything, but I think there's a lot of questions that came to light in the past regarding density, where some bonus points had been attributed over many single times. There's some double dipping happening. A lot of questions came about where the math just simply didn't add up. So I would just personally advise that you take this into consideration and you look further into the actual density, where there's some misuse of numbers. The accountability was very vague. That was one thing. There's also concern with other deeded access that were entered into court records. Again, not having been privy to any of this ongoing until this morning, none of the owners or myself actually having a chance to review to see how the new lots will impact, or the future projects. Apparently there's other projects associated with this parcel as well, will impact our deeded access. So with that said, I thank you, and I hope you have a chance to review all the information before you move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. John, you got anything on this one? All right. I'll go ahead and ask Ayanna if you have a recommended motion here. I will say that I kind of already have in mind what I would like to hear, but I'm curious what you would have to say here.
Before I make my recommendation, I do want to add for the board to notice is that if these lots are subdivided, particularly on lots 1 and 2, we're looking at a pretty small buildable area along the side of the wetland buffer, more to the west. So just something to keep in mind. I'm not sure how this, I don't know, just at first glance, it seems like a pretty darn small buildable area. But of course, when we reach more of a technical stage of development for those lots, I guess we would assess those things then. But with that being said, I am going to make a recommendation for conditional approval with the condition that all technical reviews are complete and outstanding comments must be addressed prior to issuing the development order.
Okay, thank you. Discussion from the committee?
I do think that the relatively small lots are encouraging owners to impact that wetland buffer. And nothing would stop them from going to the state. I mean, it isn't a conservation easement, is my understanding. But sometimes I ask for forgiveness rather than
Oh, yeah. No, that is a primary concern of mine. And I do think these lots are relatively large. You know, I think the graphic here is a little deceptive in that. But just the environmental sensitivity of this area, the bulk of this site is going to be a lot to contend with on those two lots specifically.
For reference, the lot to the south, to give you an idea of what you could not build on those two lots. I think it would be hard pressed to fit that building footprint.
Yeah, I'm curious, what, are you looking at the property appraiser or just just the diagram here? What does that say? What's the square footage of that? That's 20 by, wow.
28 by
okay.
40, and
Yeah.
then I believe a garage or some other structure in the front, maybe a covered patio or carport.
Yeah. Yeah, it is just really, really tight there. And I mean, the code allows for some minor encroachments into to the buffer, but that's specifically, in this instance, it would just be for infrastructure. So I do have, yeah, it's just, those lots are really, really going to be an interesting exercise in engineering. I'll be honest, I was thinking that we probably need to bump this down the road a little bit to allow for some redesign, to keep the stormwater off lots, and potentially some additional consideration from the owner to think about what's gonna be reflected in common area and not. Hopeful that they would take some of our comments here and move forward with them. I'm sorry? Well, it could, but we would, at that time, if we don't have a clear picture of what this is gonna look like, potentially in the future at development approval, then we would have to revisit the DO as well during the planning process, which I would be hopeful that we could avoid.
So is there anything in the code that would restrict what we're doing now? That's what my big concern is. I mean, I understand that I know what your concerns are.
Right.
I've been in the public sector as well, so I understand what people do to their homes, their lots, so to speak. So, my big concern is is there anything in the code that would, any language in the code that would restrict that or require an applicant?
When we changed the code in 2018, we required that the buffers be on a common area.
Wetland buffers, yeah, okay, I was sitting here
Landscape
thinking about.
buffers, wetland buffers.
Yeah, the bayshore buffer is not required, but the wetland buffer and then any landscape buffers are required to be in common area. Thank you for bringing that up.
Because of all the issues we've had in the past.
Yeah.
We require them to be in common area. That way, the people can't look at their deed and say, I own this, I'm gonna do whatever I want with it.
Sure. No, so, and I've never seen a situation like this where your common area totally bisects a lot. I've seen common area.
Well, I think that was kind of my initial point was we wouldn't want to see that. I mean, that it would just be, because it would be buildable lot,
right,
common area, and then non-buildable lot, and that would, I mean, based just on wetlands and sensitivity. So
I think this is Needle Rush Marsh for the most part, so no one's going to try to develop.
No,
that.
I would hope not.
Right.
I would hope not. But I do think there's some more work here, some more consideration that needs to be, especially in light of the code reference that Tim just brought up. And I'm sure Ayanna can include that language for you in an updated staff report. And believe me, I respect Ayanna's recommended motion here, but I think, and believe me, I also understand that this is a 4-lot subdivision, and I hate saying that it needs to be continued, but I think it does. I think
Right.
we should probably give this a little bit more time.
I've got one question, maybe Tim can answer, maybe Ayanna. On your 50-foot buffers, your shoreline buffers, how can that be common area?
It's not required to be common area. The wetland
Ju-
buffer
just the
is-
wetland buffer?
Wetland buffers.
Okay.
So I will say that there's some unique circumstance, and probably exists here, where the wetland buffer and the bayshore buffer are probably intertwined.
Yes, they
right,
are.
overlaid on each
Mhm.
other. So we have seen some interesting work done in that respect, while it's not exactly something that's explicit in the code on how that needs to be handled. It is explicit that the wetland buffer is to be held in that, in that way. So
In a common area?
that's correct.
Okay.
So, we're happy to discuss, that issue moving forward, outside of the meeting here, but, that's just where my head is. I really think that this needs a little bit more time, prior to conditional approval. But, I'll leave it up to the committee here to make a motion and see where this goes, but.
I don't know if it's helpful or not, but it also allows a 5-foot setback off the buffer. Since you're putting it in common area, your setback is 5 feet as opposed to
Right, there's a reduced.
20 or
yep.
7.5.
Right. Yeah, no, that that obviously helps, because if that became the property line, the rear setback would kill 2 of these lots.
Right, and that's why we did that. When we changed the code to say you've got to put it in common area, we also adjusted that setback language.
Gotcha.
And for the record, that what Tim is referring to is 5.00.03, footnote 3, regarding that reduction to 5 foot. Because I was just about to ask, like, if we were talking about applying the 15-foot rear setback for single-family residential, that lot, in my opinion, is unbuildable. But reducing it to 5 feet might give you a little bit more flexibility for buildable area.
Did we get environment? We did get environmental here, okay.
One more quick question, Tim. When it comes to this buffer, DEP requires a certain size buffer, an average width of 25 feet, minimum 15. Does your code allow for variation in that buffer width, with the overall width being 25?
I think we've done that, haven't we, Stephen? I believe we have, with the overall average being 25.
Right.
Because we're following along with the ERP permit. I'm not sure it's specifically in our code, but I'm pretty sure we have done that in the past. Whether we should or should not have been doing that, I'm not sure, but we have done that.
Well, we can revisit the language and see what it says explicitly, but if it doesn't allow for that flexibility, then we won't be able to allow for
Sure.
it. But we'll review it.
Or if you haven't set precedent?
What's that?
What if you've already set precedent?
If it was set, it was under a previous director, and that would shift away under me if that's the case. I'm not saying that is, but if there is flexibility in there, then I'm happy to look at how we can
Fair
apply
enough.
that here. Yep. Yeah, pay attention to these environmental comments here. He's sort of laying some of these concerns out. So, wetland, in common area, buffer in common area, those sort of things. So, again, I'll leave it up to the committee to make a motion. We have a recommended motion. I'm sorry? We've got the information we need, thank you. We're gonna move forward without your additional statements.
Make a motion to continue to allow staff to look further into the overall PUD and for the engineer of record to address the environmental comments and engineering comments.
Are you talking about it 2 weeks or April 1? What are we looking at?
What does staff feel they need?
I recommend April 1.
Okay. So we have a recommended, or maybe an unamended recommended motion, and then we have a motion, first motion for continuance to April 1. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your patience while we review this a little bit more, and that'll provide opportunity for us to work with you and figure out some of these question marks. All right, I appreciate you. Thank you. That looks like it. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all. I've got meetings the rest of the day into June.